Right, another nomination goes to Ricky Hatton. He tweeted out this morning, "Congratulations this morning to Big Daddy Brown. Australia must be so proud of him. On a personal note, congratulations to my team for taking the big man."
Oh, fuck Ricky Hatton, he's a fucking cunt. Honest to God, how could he not go over there for that fight for a fighter?
I know why. I'm going to guess why, and I think what I'm going to say is probably going to be close to the truth. Hatton is obviously a high priority fucking kidnap target, and there's shit like that going on over in Chechnya. I mean, I was reading a book once called "Blown Up Russia." Right, this is about historical fact and military history for you fucking fags listening to us just now. But they were saying that Russian generals were selling like the young conscripts and stuff like into sexual slavery in Chechnya. So.
All right,
if that's what goes on in the Russian army, can you imagine what happened to Ricky Hatton?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. If I have to nominate another Billy of the Week, I think it's Andy Patterson for saying Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual slavery.
I never said that. I never said that. Talk about twisting the words, eh? Talk about twisting the words. You would do well. Shut the fuck up. You would shut up. Quiet. You're the one that would fucking work well in tabloid magazines and fucking newspapers and that. If that's what you came out with that, they comments.
It looks like a headline of a tabloid newspaper.
That's what you just said. That's what you just said. You just fucking
you
heard me say something and you took it apart and put it into something else. Right?
Who would pay
Is your name fucking Joseph Goebbels or some shit? You're some propaganda ministry. Yeah?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 348th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Andy Patterson, Ozzy Smith, and Gabe Lewis floating about in the background there somewhere having a drink. Be with us shortly, Gabe. Welcome to you all in the chat or listening on YouTube, Mixler, iTunes during the week, wherever you are. Lots to get on with as always. We'll go over the weekend's action, starting with Inoue beating Donaire in the World Boxing Super Series final on Thursday. Try and work out if KSI versus Logan Paul was a load of rubbish, or maybe we're just a bunch of grumpy old bastards, who knows. There's Billy Joe Saunders, Devin Haney, Jamel Herring looking ahead to next week. A lot of quantity, not much quality, aside from the Farouk McGregor matchup in Scotland. Really looking forward to that one. Questions, comments, Bellew of the Weeks, and much more in between. Let's start off over in Saitama, Japan, Andy, the Super Arena for a super fight. Naoya Inoue winning a unanimous decision against the old veteran Nonito Donaire, maintaining his unbeaten record. Inoue, looking at the scores, I thought 116-111 for Luigi Boscarelli was about right. Octavio Rodriguez's 117-109 seemed slightly wide, but for the same token, Robert Hoyle's 114-113 seemed too close for me. A point in it, the knockdown was the difference from being a draw. Didn't think it was that close. WBA Super World Bantamweight title, load of bullshit. IBF title, little bit more legitimate. Ring Magazine belt as well, definitely more legitimate than the WBC Diamond title, Andy, which Inoue said, no thanks, you can keep that. That's right.
Yeah, he did well. That just enhances his legacy altogether by handing that bollocks back. But I had it 117-110 Inoue, and to be honest, that sounds unfair to Donaire and that, but again, defying the odds, I did pick last week that he would have got stopped. It almost happened, but massive credit, because at the end of the day, I'd asked the question last week. Could Donaire land and really cause questions? Inoue, well, he did. It's since transpired that he broke his orbital bone, Inoue, in the second round, and fought 10 rounds with double vision in one eye. The jab for Inoue as well is still lazy for time. If he doesn't get his jab right hand off pretty quick in that, then Donaire was countering him and stuff. You can see when Donaire as well. This is going to sound a wee bit kind of hyperbole in that, but based off that performance there by Donaire, that kind of reminded me of some sort of kind of a faded Duran type performance. You know what made it a fighter great when he was like his speed, his balance, his ability to basically get his shots off in time. Well, that was Donaire back in 2011, right? And there's the same with Duran back in his prime and stuff. But when they haven't got that ability to kind of get the shots off, they're kind of slower on their feet as they get older and stuff like that. Maybe a wee bit up in weight as well. They rely and fall back on the main thing that got them there, and that is that schooled grounding of boxing ability. The jab, the right hand. Just falling back to the basics. If you look at it as well as the the jab for Donaire at times that was pinging Inoue's head back like it was an elastic band. He was digging the body. He was causing Inoue, seriously at times to back up. Probably hurt him as well. Gave him, cause to think and stuff, and almost dropped him as well. Showed that a wee bit of adversity Inoue, and he's managed to kind of dig in and come back and almost stop him in the 11th round. But it was a great stand by Donaire. There's absolutely no question about it. His, we batter on about these people who protect their zeros and stuff. That's Donaire's 6th loss, I think it is. And even in a loss, it was like Klitschko against Joshua. Even in a loss, his reputation was enhanced by the way he lost and by the way he performed. At the end of the day, if he had the wee bit of extra gas tank in that, it could have been closer on the cards. And he could even potentially even stopped Inoue in that. But it just goes to show, we keep writing them off, and he just keeps proving, even though in defeat he's always competitive and he is going to give these guys and stuff, especially around about the world title levels, he's going to maybe come up short, but he's going to cause some massive problems, and he's probably still got enough about him to still beat the guys at fringe level. That is the thing. So there's probably a lot of call it. He can maybe keep fighting. I don't want to see him keep fighting. I want to see him retire. He's had a great career. And I'll probably just close off by saying, can you imagine this current version of Inoue against the 2011 version of Donaire? I just think it would have been absolute. It would be a far better fight than what we got on Thursday. But Thursday did excel. Expectations for me, and massive credit to Donaire, and obviously massive credit to Inoue, because he come through adversity. He was injured. He was cut, broken orbital bone, badly hurt, almost dropped, and he still was in there firing shots, trying to end the fight and stuff like that. So it was a fantastic fight, great performance by both guys, and this is fantastic career by Donaire, and whatever he does and stuff like that, as I say, hopefully he retires and has a really good life in that. But he's been an absolute fantastic servant to the sport.
Certainly agree with all of that. Andy Patterson on the ball, as always. I was going to ask him a question from the chat, Lee the Alcoholic Frotch, but Andy already answered it for me. Hope Donaire calls it a day now, says Lee. He gave his all, but had to walk through a lot. Wouldn't want to see him in a bad way in the future. Andy agrees with that. I was also going to ask Andy a question, which I shall defer for you instead, Ozzy. Joe Kennedy over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum said, does a prime Donaire beat Inoue? Andy mentioned there about 2011 versions and stuff, so do you agree with Joe? Well, Joe's not saying anything either way. He's asking you the question, Ozzy. Does a prime Nonito Donaire beat Naoya Inoue?
Oh, what a good question. I don't know. Being brutally honest, it's difficult to say.
Ozzy, sorry to interrupt you. Is it difficult because we've seen the best of Donaire and we know how good he is, but we don't know yet how good Inoue can be?
Yeah.
The thing as well is, did you see that? I don't know if it's the age factor or not, but he looked like a full division bigger than Inoue as well.
He looked massive. Yeah, I was going to say he looked a hell of a lot bigger, and particularly at the smaller weights as well. Those few pounds and things like that can make all the difference. I think naturally if you go up a bit, like at the heavyweights, 8 pound and stuff like that is nothing. But yeah, he looked massive compared to Inoue, but I would have said that Inoue was the bigger puncher in the ring, to be honest. It's difficult to say because I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. I think the only questions we ever had, but if you were to say anything, was basically had he ever been, been hit with a puncher, and he showed that he has more than a decent chin, because Donaire landed flush quite a few times, and he was still there and took everything. It's difficult to say. I think this fight will do, in a way, the world of good, and he will probably be even better next time out. I mean, God, what he you've got to remember, he started at light fly. What weight did Donaire start at? What did he win his first at super fly?
Super flyweight, yeah.
So and then he won one at fly as well. So there is a weight difference there, and you would probably say that. Like we said, Inoue is not the biggest at bantamweight, but for that as well, that Donaire is huge at that weight as well. The fact he can still make it is very impressive, considering how high he went up in the weights. I'm not. It's difficult to say. Look,
I'll go for Donaire. We're talking about that version, because
fair call.
In my lifetime, he threw probably in the top 5 greatest left hooks I've ever seen land. That one on Fernando Montiel. I have never seen a punch with the balance, the power, just the full movement, the full torque of that shot. Everything was in fluid motion when he threw that shot. And, okay, champions respect for Montiel getting up, but he actually rearranged the right-hand side of his face. He actually physically changed.
He made a corpse of him.
Yeah, he had a fucking dent in the side of his head.
Yeah.
A dent. It's like his head was made out of a fucking tin can.
I think it's understandable. I think it's understandable why Andy is going with that as well. But at the same time, I don't think we've seen. I personally think there's still more to come from Inoue. So, I mean, unless you feel he's at his prime now, then you can understand that. But I still think there's more to see of him, personally. And that's definitely not doing him a disservice either. I think he's that good. I mean, it's going to be interesting to. I don't know what. In terms of being at bantamweight now, I mean, where would you see him go?
I think absolute max out would be 122. What is he the new? I think he's 20, early 20s or whatever. I think
26, isn't he? I think.
Well, there you go. I think anything above that, it's just not going to happen. I think it's a bit like Lomachenko. I think he's at his max ceiling as well.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be shocked if they put him in with Ubali next. I wouldn't be shocked to see that. And then you've obviously got does Luis Nery hold a belt at that weight as well? Because there were some problems with the weight there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's been cheating.
Or is he just like one of these? Is he like a silver champion or something like that?
I'm sure he's next in line for Ubali. I think.
Is that who it is? Yeah. So yeah. Look, I'd rather not see that.
He's fighting Emmanuel Rodriguez next to Naoya Inoue knocked out. That's in a couple of weeks, I think. That's early December, I think, yeah.
I noticed the Maloney's are fighting next week. Is it Andrew?
Yeah, both of them are fighting, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And look, you've still got Zolani Tete as well. I mean, he's making a long-awaited return.
Casimiro as well. He had a good win against... Who was his name? He beat Ramirez, I think it was. Guy Casimiro.
Casimiro's fighting Tete, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah. Yeah,
that's on that Birmingham card.
That'll be a good win for Tete. That and look, I mean, talk's cheap, but Tete said before that he wants to fight Inoue should he come through against Casimiro. So again, that's another good fight to look forward to. But going back to the question, I don't know, but I can understand Andy's thoughts. And I mean, that left hook was a menace for sure. And I think if it in his prime, if it landed flush, I think it's fair to say it was pretty much lights out.
Hamed in the chat saying saw Rungvisai as the style to beat Inoue. In my opinion, I think if Inoue's fleet-footed and gets his game plan right, he could. Yeah. He wouldn't run rings around Rungvisai, but I think that he's quite predictable and straight lines, isn't he? And if you got fitness and a good game plan and you're a good boxer, I'd say you could
probably. It's the pressure though, mate. It's the pressure he puts on you, and he's big. He's a big guy.
Yeah, Matt Russell's thrown in a question which I was going to ask as well about when's Inoue going to be back in the ring. I mean, the cut, the orbital fracture. Is there any more problems if he could have? We're not going to see him anytime soon, even though he's inked this deal with Bob Arum, so it's going to be a while, definitely, I would imagine.
But they said it doesn't require surgery. I don't think it's not as bad as first feared or whatever and that, but he said he just needs a couple of weeks rest and that, but by next year I would imagine.
Okay. Adam Smith's joined us on the call. We'll be coming to you very shortly, Adam. Before we do so, let's go over to you, Gabe. I saw a few people going on being quite detrimental, Gabe, towards Inoue in a pound-for-pound sense. Oh, he gets hit too much, his defence is poor. He's no Mayweather defensively, which is all great, but I don't care about pound-for-pound. I'd rather watch fights like that on a Thursday and see a guy who is defensively lax and gets the injuries and goes for it. I mean, he was throwing wild hooks, he was throwing wild jabs. He has flaws, he's not the perfect package, but he could have stunk the place out, but he didn't. He went for it, and I like that about Inoue. Question coming in for you, Gabe. Continuing on the theme, Conor Brennan was asking what the boys were talking about there. Can you discuss how far in weight Inoue can go up and what particular champions he could potentially defeat up in the divisions? One of your guys, Rigondo, has been mentioned. Do you think he'll be able to get the better of Rigondo at 122, Gabe? I think Rigondo might be moving down, actually. Anyway, moving up and Rigondo, Gabe, what's the story?
Come on, Gabe, give me his credit. Don't be a little bitch.
Crying like a little bitch.
I definitely I don't really feel like he's going to go up too much higher. I just don't think that he's going to be able to match well with the size as he continues to move up. I mean, you have to consider really, I guess, several different things, and that would be where he started at and how far he's already moved along. I think is kind of one of the primary issues. So, I mean, if you take a guy who has moved up so far, how far he's moved up and so quickly, I really don't know that he can go up past 122. I feel like if he goes to 126, it's going to be too far. I don't know, though. I mean, I feel like maybe, depending on how long it takes him to get up there, he could do 126. But I definitely think 130 would be – I mean, that would be like the final fight of his career, wants to go out, has a chance to win a title from a title holder type deals. If he went up to 130 and right this minute and win it against Tevin Farmer, Miguel Burchelt, what's his name, Herring, I just don't feel like any of those fights are going to be good for him. I mean, I think he's just going to be too small, and I think that's going to work against him. And even though a guy like Tevin Farmer, who's doesn't have a whole lot of power, is going to have such a size advantage that it's going to be really easy to box his ears off. And I don't say that because I feel like these clowns that are saying that anyway doesn't need to be on the pound for pound list or what have you. In my opinion, the pound for pound list is a fucking retarded idea anyway, because you're talking about, I mean, what are you using to compare them? It's all just this big, wonderful idea of a bunch of nonsense, and yours is going to be different than mine, and that person's going to be different than ours, and it's just a bunch of nonsense. If you were to really make a pound for pound list, I don't think you don't put this guy on here, even if he did struggle. And I think guys like Canelo Alvarez are now on that list, and I consider it a pound for pound fighter, someone who's jumped up multiple classes and exhibited greatness in every division that they've been in, or has won titles in every division they've been in. And that to me is more of an indication of pound for pound, as opposed to a guy like Alexander Usyk, who's fought at cruiserweight, and that's it, and that's all we've seen. And how the fuck is that guy going to be on a pound for pound list? He's been great at cruiserweight, that's it. I mean, he's tested himself against one weight class. Now, if he goes up to heavyweight, all due respect then. I mean, pound for pound, see, what I'm getting at, the pound for pound list is fucking stupid. It makes no difference to me. I'm like you, Steve. I want to see a guy who goes out there and puts his balls on the line and eats some hard punches, gives some hard punches, and goes to war. And that's exactly what he did. I really was a little bit taken aback by the fact that the fight went as long as it did. And I feel like what I talked about last week did happen to some extent. With the longer the fight going, the worse it was for Donaire, because I thought the fight, as it kind of crept along, you could see anyway kind of learning on the job a little bit. Whereas early, he was getting hit with some big punches, and like Andy said, the jab was snapping his head back like a rubber band. So, I mean, it was really a fun, terrific fight. And anyway, obviously, I thought did enough to win. I thought the score was fairly wide. I don't know if that's an accurate way to call it. It was fairly wide, but there was enough close rounds that you could have possibly had it a little bit closer. But anyway, was great. Donaire was great. I'm going to retract all my previous statements and tomfoolery and haterishness of everything that I've said about him before, because I think if you really love boxing, you have to recognize what he's done. And the guy's had a terrific career, fought terrific opponents, and really come up short only a handful of times. I mean, you talk about one of the worst losses of his career was with a giant in Nicholas Walters, who I don't even know if he's still fighting anymore. But I mean, he was so far outsized. Walters was a monster for that weight class. So you're talking about a guy who's reached as far as he could and did everything he possibly could, and really truthfully, being a big ambassador of the sport too. I mean, just being a classy guy. It's not like we're talking about fucking Billy Joe Saunders here. That guy's a scumbag piece of shit. But Donaire always seems to handle himself with class. Always seems to challenge himself, and challenge the ideas of what a boxer can do and should do. And I think for that reason, I'm I'm glad to see that he put on such a good show. But I think his time is up. I don't want to see him continue. If he does, hope it's against low-level guys, and just to kind of stay in shape, keep some practice up. Because if he goes in against some murderous punchers and moves up in weight again, it'll end up pretty badly for him, I believe.
Gabe, just before you shuffle off there, the fight was on just after 12, or was it 1? 12 o'clock in the afternoon, I think it was our time. What time was it on for you?
Oh, fuck, it was like...
That guy Hernandez was raging, that LA Times correspondent. He was
6 or 6:30, I think.
Aye, he was moaning about 4 o'clock in the morning and stuff. I'm like, wind your neck in. It's like, is it the first time you've ever had to get up at like stupid o'clock to watch a fight?
We have to do that.
Exactly.
It was so last week actually I didn't get to watch the fight live, so my internet went out and the guy didn't come to repair it until Friday afternoon, and so I tried to hop on my phone and watch it, but the mobile service here inside of my house is so spotty that I couldn't even watch it on my phone. It was like I'd catch about 2 seconds of action, then pause for 8, and then maybe another half a second of action, and then it would pause for another 30 seconds. So I was just kind of watching along and seeing what was happening as we got ready to, go to work and take my boys to school and stuff. So it was actually fucking terrible. I was super pissed that I couldn't watch it live, but as soon as I got home Friday, I downloaded it, and it was tremendous.
I fell asleep.
Just looking through the chat, trying to find Jason Chukwu, seeing if he's woken up yet. No sign of Chukwu. We'll let you know as and when he turns up. Everybody's desperate to know. Talking about Hall of Fame for Nonito Donaire now. It's a bit like pound for pound for me. Not going to get too upset about it. Under my relatively high criteria, I wouldn't have someone like Donaire in a Hall of Fame, but given the current criteria, the way those guys do it, then I'd say there's a pretty good chance he will get in. I was listening to Tris Dixon's podcast earlier in the week with the great Eddie Mustafa Mohammed, and he's never even appeared on the ballot apparently, so it is a strange criteria, Hall of Fame. Someone like Mustafa, you think he would at least be thrown through the grinder a couple of times, his name would have come up, but apparently not. Anyway, Smido, I know you're not interested too much in that type of stuff. Kevin Chase over on Facebook got stuck in. He said, great to see two fighters put it all out there. No, I'm not talking about that shitfest on pay-per-view. Inoue versus Donaire, brilliant fight. That 11th was probably the round of the year for me. I had it only going 3 rounds, so hats off to Nonito Donaire. And Holt over on Patreon as well, Smido, said for you, did anyone else think how much bigger Donaire was? Looked weight classes above Inoue, which is obviously undersized at the weight. Makes it piss easy, and even skipped a weight class. Makes Inoue and his power even more impressive in my eyes. Proper tough cunt.
Yeah, Donaire did definitely look bigger on the night. I think, I know this might sound a bit of a daft comment, I think his body looked old, less chiseled than it would have been as a younger guy, but he's nearly 37 years old. I think Inoue had competed in his last 3 fights, had gone a total of less than 4 rounds, so we've seen Donaire obviously now at this age, many people, including myself, was expecting it to go early, given what we've seen from Inoue recently, and he's not been doing it against fringe level guys either. He's been absolutely demolishing kids even in this tournament. So, but yeah, it was absolutely sensational to be honest. There's parallels really to the previous week in terms of a faded, if you like, or fading champion in Kovalev and Donaire. I think the difference was that Donaire kind of really did turn back the clock, as it were, and put absolutely everything into it and came out with all sorts of credit and love from the fans, whereas Kovalev really, we felt like he didn't really do himself justice in terms of his game plan. But anyway, I thought
hey Speed,
yep.
I think that it was more of a factor of Donaire's the kind of guy that lives the life all the time. I think he stays pretty healthy, and I think that was a big factor. I mean, he never really gets too far out of shape. I think that was a big reason why he was able to eat some of those punches that have been putting other guys to sleep.
Yeah, and I know it's I forgot what I was going to say there. I just thought that the the early rounds, I was really impressed with Inoue's jab, which we're kind of not used to seeing given his highlight reel of late. I thought it jabbed really well. His left hook was landing all sorts of times in the first 2 or 3 rounds, taking Donaire off balance. I have watched it back, and I didn't quite know where the adjustment came today, because as the longer the fight went on, the less the Inoue left hook was important, and then his right hand came into play. But I think the shot that Donaire landed that did the orbital bone damage or the eye damage changed everything, to be honest, in that fight for me. I actually visually didn't think, and I was stupid enough to mention in the chat that I didn't think it looked that bad. I know Gabe was wanting the updates. I was trying to provide them in the chat. It didn't visually look all that bad after it first happened, and he came out for the 3rd round, and it's rare that you see someone at that level, reacting so extremely to the damage that had been done. But clearly that was justified given what we've heard about and seen later on, the damage that's been done. He had his right hand really high held, and it kind of threw him off his game plan. It was really bothering him, and like I say, justified in the end. And that definitely changed the fight. And then the way that Donaire came back to it, I think in the 8th and the 9th, it was looking like Inoue could be out of it, or could have been knocked out. It was just sensational. And then to come back as well, Inoue, towards the end, when after around rounds 10, it could go either way. I mean, I was watching it at work. I said to one of the guys at work that at the end of round 9 or 10, whatever it was, all 5 options for a result was in play. You could have seen any of the 5 outcomes, from draws to knockouts, etc. So that was all to play for, really. At that stage, and but yeah, that 11th was fantastic, and it just was absolutely brilliant. Donaire was amazing, and you just get it was just like an end of career appreciation. We've seen him go up in weights. It's done remarkable to even get to a level to come back down in weight, to be honest. So yeah, great fight. I don't know what they're going to do with Inoue in America. I know that he signed with Top Rank now. But given that he's already fought such opposition, it's highly unlikely that himself and his management team are going to accept trash. So that's a big positive. That's a big positive going forward. I think that the scorecards were mentioned. There was a couple that looked harsh, really. But when I was watching it, with more concentration again I think it was last night or whenever it was, you could easily have had it 4-1 after the first 5 rounds. And then, maybe Donaire's taking 8 and 9. Inoue definitely taking the last 2. So really, you're quite easily looking at an 8-4, or if you're really being harsh, a 9-3 fight. So although Donaire was well in the fight and had some great success, Inoue did definitely win the majority of rounds, definitely.
Good stuff, Smitho. More from you to come a little bit later on. Joe Kennedy did throw in a final question, although I think we've answered it really. How much of a factor was Donaire's campaigning at super bantamweight featherweight in being able to withstand Inoue's power? The guys have pretty much answered that. I think Joe's hanging around in the chat actually. Good guy, Joe. Welcome to you if that is indeed yourself. Anything on the undercard, Andy, that took your interest? Nordine Ubali looks like quite the specimen, isn't he? He's a big, tall, strong, physically imposing guy against this Takuma Inoue. The Japanese fighters, I know it's a bit stereotypical, but they're so fit and strong. They don't always have the nuance or the technical ability, but God, if you're not in shape yourself, they're just going to keep coming and coming and coming.
Yeah, it was really a kind of proper, his real first step up actually for Inoue actually. Okay, he fought the Thai in that, but at the same time, the Thai's record that are really kind of padded, but as you say, Obala, man, he's got muscles, grown on muscles and stuff. The back's like an aircraft carrier. He's just constant, isn't it? He's just, he's got a style. He just steps into distance and lets his hands go, and he hurts you. It's that simple. I think he's going to be an absolute handful for anybody at 118. It's going to take someone who can withstand his pressure, and he's a very good boxer. I would tip Inoue to beat him. But there's no way is that an easy fight. Like that guy's just constant, just basically on the ball. But if we're I knew he was going to be for a wee bit through. I would love, and I dare say there'll be a few other people in the chat and that who would love to see this happen, but I want him to come in here, Ubali, and fucking empty, lay waste Lewis Neri, by the way. That cheating me shite. Twice or 3 times now he's been helped out by WBC. He's been cutely put in at number 1 there at 118, not even deserving it. He's iced Yamanaka twice and stuff. One time he was on the juice, another time he couldn't bother making weight and stuff. That was just stuck in my throat because Yamanaka was a long-standing, respected champ. So I think it's time that he gets his deservings now. So I want to see Ubali fight this guy and end that career because he's just I suppose nepotism is the wrong word here, but this nationalist pish that the Mexicans are coming out with at the minute. Who was it Ray Vargas who just failed the drugs test and stuff? And
Vargas and Martinez.
Aye, all fucking Mexican fighters, right? Oh, it's contaminated meat. I'm absolutely delighted they come out so quick and they got that meat tested. So nepotism is probably the wrong word, but nationalism and favoritism, that it's just doing my crawling, and they. This Lewis Neri, they actually went through the nth degree to make sure he remained in the WBC rankings, and that was like putting stipulations on him by enrolling in a drug testing program at his own cost. He wasn't allowed to fight under any other sanctioned fights. It wasn't under the WBC auspices and all that sort of stuff. So fuck Lewis Neri, and I want Nordine Ubali to kind of come in here as the monster that he is and absolutely lay waste of that little dick. And by the way, Neri is one of these guys who's cheated the weight. Okay, 115, 118 is no lot of weight, but as for these guys, as we've mentioned before and that, but Neri was struggling to make 115. He's been forced to move up to 118, and he's going to fight a guy like Ubali. Bring it on. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, just looking down the WBC. So go ahead, Smido. First of all, you go, sir.
I was just going to pick up. I was just going to pick up on what Gabe said earlier about pound for pound and Usyk only doing it at one weight. Well, there is a 25-pound weight difference between cruiserweight and light heavyweight, so he's not really got much of a choice. That fella, to be fair, but that was my point.
Yeah, good point. I suppose it's subjective, isn't it, Smid? Like you could say, well, Usyk doesn't have to do anything moving through the weights. That's not pound for pound. We're judging him on what he's done in comparison to what other people have done. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Do you have to jump up and down the weights? What do you think?
Well, as you know, I'm a big expert on pound for pound.
If you empty a division, I think you need to be in the discussion, like.
Yeah, definitely. And like, but it is easier for the likes of, when you're starting at the lower weights, Donaire, Inoue, Pacquiao way back when, going through those weights and winning titles because the weight difference is a lot smaller. I think it's difficult because Canelo splits opinion, but last week we've been there and said he's got to be because just the sheer amount of different divisions he's managed to win in. But Inoue's definitely got to be in the conversation. It's difficult. I saw some people saying on Twitter, that. He goes 12 rounds with a 37-year-old, and everyone's talking about him. Whereas, so it is difficult. Was his reputation enhanced with that fight? Not sure. But when I'm like you a bit, Steve. I don't give a shit. I just want to see a great fight, and that was a great fight. I don't care where he stands on the pound-for-pound list.
The thing is, though, that's absolute bollocks, because it means you literally... He was excellent in that fight against a bigger guy and a more experienced guy, and his power told in it. To criticise him and say, what was his... Oh, he went round 12 rounds with it. This isn't any old 37-year-old. This isn't, like it was a laboured display and, he didn't impress at all. The guy had a broken eye socket from round 2 and was seen, blurred vision or double vision.
Yeah.
So to even criticise him is absurd, absolutely absurd. And I think both guys' reputations were enhanced for such a brilliant contest. Anyway, battling for a great win, and Donaire may well have lost, but I tell you what, he lost in the right way. You can win a fight and people hate you. Billy Joe Saunders got booed out the ring last night because he got a stinking display. Nonito Donaire got beat, but in such a valiant display, he was probably cheered out the ring. And again, I've not seen one negative comment about Donaire again. So these people even trying to shoot on Inoue just chat absolute bollocks because you cannot criticise the guy. It's absurd.
You can't. What I was going to say, I said last week, and I said it at the start of showing that we wanted to see Inoue tested, and we got that. He was bleeding for the nose, broken eye socket, cut, badly hurt, to the body and to the head, dipped his knees, had to back up, answered those questions, right? And people are hating on it. Now, bear in mind, Lomachenko came back after shoulder surgery after beating Jorge Linares, comes back, fights Pedraza, who's a titleist, in his next fight back, and people are shitting on him because he looked mortal. Tell me something. Who comes off surgery and fights another titleist these days? By the way, nobody.
Hey, there was once a British fighter who fought a fella 2 weight divisions too big for him, and he broke his orbital bone, and he definitely didn't go 12 rounds.
So I've seen somebody asking that as well. Sorry, I've seen somebody asking about, will the eye socket mean a problem for Inoue going forward? Well, I think it really depends on that person's bone density and all that sort of stuff. Because there's Kosi Tanaka, he had a broken eye socket. It seems to have healed okay, but then Brooks, for example, kind of gets re-broken after like one fight and stuff. So
yeah.
That shot that done it as well, mate. Oh my word, it was fantastic. So when did that come? The second round. Because up till then, Inoue, Donaire had been peppered. To be honest, it was a pretty quick start from Inoue, as we used to see it. Like I say, the right hands, the left hook. I mean, I said to a lad at work, it's clear for anyone to see Donaire's going to go down to a left hook in a minute, because there was a couple of times where he was landing that left hook and he was stumbling him early on. But that shot from Donaire was sensational shot. Really was. Nearly took him off his feet, caused the cut, broke
almost
the bone.
halved him in two, man.
Oh, and like I say, Inoue, he's never had any adversity like that ever, and so that obviously changed the fight, and to come through that, storm or incident or pain or whatever you want to call it, is just, hats off to him there. I mean, I was of the opinion that if that left hook didn't land, and it did, and facts are facts, but if it didn't land, I thought the fight would have been over within the first 4 or 5 rounds, as everyone was predicting. But it just was such a big incident in the fight, it changed the way the fight went, and he still won.
Yeah, I don't know what it is people want to see, because, I mean, you can say, Inoue was defensively irresponsible, but then you've got someone like Demetrius Andrade who's defensively irresponsible. You want to sit and watch that? The Charlo brothers, I was quite high on them at one point. I'm completely off that train, man. They throw about three or four shots around. You got all these guys like Gervonta Davis. Oh, well, he goes for it. Yeah, but look at the level of opposition. I mean, what do you want here?
Yeah, it's the typical boxing fan that literally fighters are expected to be punch perfect every time, and if they aren't, the thing to do is not praise them but to criticise them. I just don't understand anybody who can criticise in a way. He has answered every question asked of him. He's been matched superbly well. I just don't understand it. I do not understand it one bit. Not at all. This guy's what is it? Light fly, and super fly now at title, and bantamweight as well. He has won.
He jumped up completely through one of them, I think, didn't he? Didn't he miss one of them out completely? Was it? Yeah.
Where did he miss?
Didn't he go from light fly to super or something like that? I could be getting that wrong.
Okay. I thought he won one at flyweight. No, you're right. You're right. That's my error. That I thought he boxed at fly. All right, no. But anyway, you see the point. This guy's one, and they're not, like shoddy divisions. People may not give us much credit. It's because they're not publicised as much. They're not the sexy divisions. like the heavyweights and things like that. That your casual fan just doesn't see them. And then, like you said, there's been this talk, and then he goes to... Donaire has been stopped once. This guy's, he's not cannon fodder. He's been stopped once. And that was when, he got trounced in weight and things like that. It was a very good win. A very, very good win. I mean, I thought he'd get rid of Donaire, to be fair, inside 3. But like we've said, he answered questions, he battled through injuries, and if you ever had one question about him was, could he take a shot? And the answer is, yes, he can. And he'll improve even more from the win on Thursday, going into his next couple of fights.
Andy, I want to move on soon and get Ozzy in on the MTK card, but before we do, we mentioned Maloney earlier. Jason Maloney, 19-1, is fighting for one of those Oceania titles at bantamweight. He seems to be going the WBA route, even though he is number 4 with the WBC. Number 3 is Emmanuel Rodriguez, we mentioned earlier. He's fighting the number 1 Neri, which I'm assuming is some kind of eliminator. Inoue did have the WBC interim World Bantamweight Championship, which is a pile of shite, so that got him the shot at Ubali. Don't know who number 2 is with the WBC, Nawafon Kaikana, don't know about him. Interestingly though, Andy, number 5, Daigo Higa, is floating about up at that weight as well, so if he can get back to the monster who was operating a couple of weights down, he could be a factor as well.
Sorry, is
Any
that for me,
interest
mate?
in that, Andy? Yep.
Sorry, mate, I was just away there for a second. Go and ask me that question again, mate, sorry.
No, sorry, I was just talking about the situation with the WBC, saying that Jason Maloney's fighting at the weekend, but he seems to be on the WBA route. Rodriguez Neri is an eliminator, but we've also got Daigo Higa sliding in. He could be an interesting proposition.
Yeah, well, again, he's been mandatory suspended by the Japanese Commission for missing weight badly, so he's been slipped in there, but I don't suspect we'll see him challenging anytime soon. I think need a couple of kind of test fights at the weight and that as well, but it is interesting to get kind of slotted in there, like. But no, the Maloney's, I'm really looking forward to them actually as well. Obviously, I think it was Andrew that had the fight in Chile. I think it was. I think he's in lines at Yafai. Mm-hmm. He seems to be kind of doing I'm not saying dodging, but I want to see Yafai kind of similar tested to what Inoue got and that. But I think Maloney would give him a lot of problems, and I think Yafai just got instinct actually. He's big at the weight. He's maybe toiling at the weight as well. So I would make it a close to 50-50 fight between Maloney and Yafai at this point.
Yeah, it got me thinking about Yafai. We've talking about these weight divisions. Have they finally gave up, as Fastcar finally gave up, which was embarrassingly calling out Chocolatito? Everyone knows that he is, done and finished, unfortunately, and yet they still managed to connect Yafai's name to him about a year after he'd been knocked out twice. I thought that was embarrassing. Is Chocolatito finished, done?
No, Chocolatito's number 3 in the rankings behind Yafai, and as Andy said, Andrew Maloney's number 1. Chocolatito comes in at number 3.
But active? Or intense?
As far as I know, he is. He had a win recently, didn't he?
He's in the gym, Gonzalez. I don't know if he's fighting or got anything arranged and stuff. It's all quiet in that regard, like.
Yafai, I mean, it's it's pretty hot down there. He just needs to fucking fight someone, for God's sake. I was a fan of him to start with, but I just think he's been campaigned all wrong.
Yafai, Brook, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, they're all falling off the radar, Smido. Saying Eddie needs to pull his finger out. Smido agrees. Rapping Rob Kelly is busy. We'll come to you very shortly. Go on, Smid.
The short answer to the question, Steve, is yes. But they're getting shipped off to America to fill them dates and fill them slots and apparently fulfill their dreams. And then they get booed out of the ring like Billy Joe Saunders. Couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke.
Well said. Jason Chucker is woken up. He's in the chat. He said everyone thought that Inoue was the second coming of Jesus, but he's just a disciple. Chuckwu not on the train just yet. MTK Aussie
just man.
He's woken up. Yeah, over in Oxnard, California, there was a fight on at the week. There was a show on at the weekend, with 25 fights. Imagine sitting through that. 25 fights, and they were all 3-rounders, 3-minute rounds. Maybe it's some kind of tournament. I don't see the same names coming up and down. 25 fights, 3-rounders. Imagine sitting through something like that. Right from flyweight all the way up to heavyweight. Someone has unsheathed themselves. Ozzy, tell us about that MTK card. I saw the last 3 rounds of, it wasn't Ryan Walsh, it was Liam Walsh, wasn't it, against Maxie Hughes. Conrad Cummings starting to look towards retirement, I think, after getting stopped by Danny Dignam. And Michael McKinson, nice boxer, no power.
Conrad asked for that shot, by the way. Sorry, mate, on you go.
No, I was going to say, I'll start with that fight because, Cummins, whoever's telling him to carry on, just needs to tell him to stop now because he's, no disrespect, it was a battle of what, Dignam was 11-0 and obviously the home fighter of somewhat, but in reality, his best win is Anthony Fox, and that was dubious. As for Cummins, we've seen him, and he's garbage, to put it bluntly. And he was walking forward like he had a granite chin last night, and it just completely backfired. And as Andy said, he asked for the shot, and excellent stoppage by Howard Foster, because had he let that continue, Cummins would have been badly hurt. So I think, I say it's a win for Danny Dignam. Picked up one of these fringe WBO European titles. It will get him some sort of ranking, and he moves on. Liam Walsh back, finally. Big fan of Liam Walsh. I think he's a very talented fighter. Didn't go his way against Gervonta Davis. No shame in that. And then he just couldn't get a fight. He made the decision to walk away from Frank Warren and Queensberry. Felt he could, get options elsewhere, and it just backfired on him. MTK have brought him back. I think he had basically a routine victory about 6 months ago or something. And then Maxick, it's fair to say that was his first real fight in 2.5 years. And look, it was an okay performance. Walsh took some silly shots, but I think you can owe some of that to ring rust. Hughes, vastly underrated, a lot better than people give him credit for, but a decent enough win for Liam Walsh. He's at lightweight. There's some good fights domestically for him. I wouldn't put him up there anywhere near like world level at the moment, but I think he can certainly campaign at British and European level. Certainly wouldn't hesitate in putting him in with someone like Joe Cordina for a start. Michael McKinson, really like this guy. He can box, quality. I think he's based down in Portsmouth. Got basically a very basic win over, I think he was like a Mexican guy or Argentinian or something. And he's building his record, and he's had a few decent fights, and I think he's just crying out now for an opportunity. I think domestically, I wouldn't rank him above any higher than that at the moment. But like I say, I think there's loads of fights. I'm sure he'd snap the hand off at a Conor Benn fight, without a doubt. Chantel Cameron battered that Esther Sanchez. People will remember her from when I think she boxed Katie Taylor at Wembley on one of the Joshua undercards. With Cameron, I think there's probably only one fight people want to see, and that's her in with Katie Taylor. Whether that happens, I'm not too sure. But again, I'll give praise to MTK because it's another good card, small hole card, free to watch on YouTube as well, which you can't complain with. And they're keeping the fighters busy. They've got a hell of a lot of fighters, and Lee Eaton's a very busy man, and he's here, there, and everywhere, and he's keeping fighters active. So fair play to him. Like I said, there's some talent on the card that'll definitely move on. And overall, I think people are spoiled. What was the 5-10 rounders on there? Oh, shout out to is it Daniel Ebenike? He became Southern Area super lightweight champion last night. I think.
Yeah. I
forget who he beat last time.
Billy Ellington.
Is that it? No, last time out as well. I saw he beat Ellington. It was on another thingy. Or was that Martin McDonough? That was it. On another MTK card. So I've seen him box before, and he looked very impressive. And then he notched up another win, as you say, last night, Steve, against Billy Ellington. So no, overall, a decent card. I think you would have asked for maybe a couple more stoppages ideally. But look, it didn't happen. But yeah, overall, a decent card for a small hole card for a Saturday night for sure.
What I would say about these MTK shows is that I don't follow them closely and don't watch them, but they are like what should be on Box Nation from yesteryear. I know Box Nation's dead for all intents and purposes, but they're the type of shows that should be gobbled up on there. But it's good to see them, still putting them on. Ozzy always speaks highly of them, and that I think they're free to air on YouTube. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. Everything's available on YouTube, and look, it's a proper setup. They've got Barry Jones and Alex Steedman in as commentators. It's not, just a little camera shoved in a corner. It's a proper setup, and they're excellent. Completely agree. I mean, look, we could probably dedicate a show to Box Nation about the wants, positives, and so many negatives. And for me, Box Nation should be a platform for small hole promoters. So you Steve Goodwin, Steve Woods, Carl Greaves, people like that. They should be given that opportunity to showcase something. Because, I mean, Box Nation, when did they even last show a fight? I mean,
well,
look,
two things I'll say, Ozzy. Two things I'll say quickly. First of all, there was supposed to be an MTK Box Nation link up, if you remember at the beginning, and that fell through for whatever reason. And I think Box Nation is done, but instead of just taking it off air, they're probably thinking, we've still got a few hundred people still subscribed, we might as well just keep it ticking over till the license runs out or whatever, the last person sort of unsubscribes.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, yeah, I don't even know. It's literally pointless. It's just pointless. Like there's no real backing into it. They barely buy a fight. When they do, it's some random show in like Mexico or Russia. Yeah, it's just
South Africa IBOs are the best. They still do South African IBO title
randomly
shows.
put them on. I know they show Ultimate Boxer, and Ultimate Boxer give them that content for nothing. I think just to get them out, to get them out to the 80 subscribers that they've got left. But yeah, it's one of those really. It's a shame because I think people would be interested in subscribing. If you could catch, the small hall shows, and it would improve it as well. Box Nation wouldn't have to give a massive budget to these smaller hall shows. You put 3 Southern area level fights on, and maybe an English title fight on, split across cards. I think people would be happy. Like Friday nights and stuff. I know Frank did a couple of smaller hall Friday night cards. I remember Boy Jones Jr. was in with Craig Poxton.
Oh, BAM Promotions.
Yeah, do you remember what a brilliant fight that was? And
that was Andy Ayling's promotional company, wasn't it?
It was just for a Southern area title. That it wasn't like 2 big names. It was just 2 guys, and they went hell for leather against each other. It was brilliant. But look, I don't think that's ever going to happen. MTK, we don't need to go in where they source their funds from. But look, they're backing the boxers and they're putting it on YouTube for people to get somewhat sort of exposure. And they're making decent fights as well. It's not, just like a 22-0 against, like some, just like absolute knockover jobs. They are making decent fights and they're matching their own fighters as well. So I hope it keeps going because they're one of the only firms that are happily matching people relatively decent, and they're not all about padding the records out just to appease the TV men at the top.
And as well as what Ozzy says about them putting on their own shows, matching their own guys, which is all true, they're operating at the other end of the scale as well in terms of managing some of the biggest fighters in the world, the likes of Fury. I know we've mentioned Billy Joe Saunders connected with Liam Smith and stuff like that. So yeah, both ends of the spectrum.
Oh, huge! Yeah, they're probably the biggest managerial promotion outfit in terms of amount of fighters and things like that in the world. They have got loads on their books, absolutely loads at all levels. I mean, considering they've been going for what? How long have they been going now, Steve? Do you think 5 years?
7 or 8 years, maybe, because they were MGM before, weren't they?
Of course they were, yeah. And I mean, it said it all. They got taken to court by MGM in America because of the naming rights. So it shows, like how quickly they've moved, and they had to rename and things like that to avoid any legal cases. So yeah, look, they're absolutely flying, and boxers are benefiting from it. They really are.
Yep, that's Ozzy Smith, everybody, for episode 348 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Adam Smith's with us as well, Gabe Lewis, Andy Patterson, and rapping Rob Kelly. James Kirkland was supposed to come back over the weekend. Haven't heard any information on that one. Any information on you, Rob? Are you out there? Are you alive? Are you hearing me loud and clear?
I'm here. I can hear you, yeah. What about my signal? How am I sounding tonight?
You sounding good, Rob? Go on.
Bit apprehensive this because I'm afraid to say anything because I know you're pushing those fucking sound buttons behind the scenes and we can't hear them until the pod gets broadcast. So right now there could be Operation U through, could be Operation U3, could be Bean, could be. We got to be honest, yeah. You don't know what's going on in the background there, like.
I was laughing at that one. See, Bean.
That's so funny, like fucking hell. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
I've just put one on there, Rob, as you were talking, so you'll have to listen back on youtube.com/Boxing Asylum during the week to find out exactly what was rolling there in the background, so look forward to that one. I wanted to ask you, Rob, about the big fight of the weekend. 2 massive stars going in against each other. KSI against Logan Paul, Rob. What went down?
Fucking hell. Well, I didn't watch that one, man. I watched the highlights this morning.
Bullshit!
I was actually out on the piss last night, so I'm a bit rough today.
So was I, man.
Yeah, so I was struggling today. I'm getting too old for this shit. Like fucking Danny Glover. No, I watched it. The standard was terrible. I thought your man Logan Paul had a bit more technique to him, throwing the punches a little straighter. KSI seemed to be winging shots, but that was a style that was working for him. And your man Logan Paul probably should have won the fight if he hadn't fucked it up himself by hitting him on the deck and getting
this fight, didn't you?
You
didn't watch this fight. You're giving it far too much credence and
too
much.
I've seen the fucking, the YouTube.
Didn't you?
The YouTube.
I'm worried about anybody who watched this.
Operation U-Tree, where Logan Paul actually drops him with an uppercut that he set up, and it looked good. And then when he had him hurt, for some reason he grabbed him behind the back of the neck and then punched him again. And then when he was on the ground, he hit him again twice. So Jack Reese was like, "Oh, fuck this shit!" It scored a knockdown, but he's taken off 2 points for hitting him on the deck. And then he lost, I think, by a point. So he should have probably won. But they're both shit. And I think Smitho was saying during the week or something in the chat, would he beat the two of them? I'd make Smitho the favourite there against either. But I saw shout out to my man D2 let me know that Anthony Bellew said he'd fight the two of them for $1 million at the same time. So would you just leave Anthony Bellew alone, Logan Paul and KSI? He doesn't want to be a YouTuber, just leave him alone. But yeah, that was shocking. And then the Billy Joe fight, I watched that. I'm sure he was already after calling that one pretty accurately. Billy Joe looked like shit for 11 rounds. Cracker of a punch to drop the guy in the 11th, but it's Billy Joe's career is a hard one to sum up. Over the last year, Joe. Yeah, basically over the last year he's been more known for the shit that he's been doing outside of the ring. He's off the nasal spray in his last 2 fights, and he hasn't looked as good. He's looking a lot heavier. He's no way a 68 pounder. I think he's 160, but he's just not disciplined enough to stay at the weight to make 160. So he's pissing about up at with the WBO version of 68 that he kind of picked up off the street kind of thing. And that fucking fighting on the Logan Paul KSI undercard in the US shorts, man, relax. You're not Tyson Fury. You don't have that draw power. I'm sorry. Nobody gives a shit if you come out to the ring in the Apollo Creed trunks. It's been done before. Man, just a few months ago by your mate. Knock it off. So I don't know. I just think Saunders, he needs a big fight, and there's a lot of talk about him. He beat Eubank out of. Well, I wouldn't say he beat him out of sight in the first. Beat him handily in the first fight. But now it's almost the case that he needs, from the outside anyway, perception is that he nearly needs that Eubank fight more than Eubank needs him, because Eubank was the one clamouring for the rematch for years, calling out Billy Joe, keeping himself relevant. But Billy Joe's on the verge of becoming obscure now. I don't think that fight last night has put him in the frame for Canelo. I don't think that version of him gives Canelo any problems. So if he's going to be fighting up the weights, I think honestly he needs to get that back down to 60. Maybe try for a fight with Golovkin, who's obviously looking for an opponent now. And he could be getting Golovkin at the right time, but very, very poor performance throughout the 11. And he was behind on. He was a couple of rounds behind. I thought you could have. I didn't actively score it because I knew the result. But you could see how he could be maybe 1 or 2 rounds down, depending on what you like. Your man seemed to grow in confidence the more as the fight went on, and then obviously he walked onto that shot. But fucking hell, Billy Joe Saunders, all this promise from a couple of years ago, and then to leave Frank after him and Frank kind of came up together, he leaves Frank and goes to Eddie, and then that's where he ends up fighting nobody, defending his 68th WBO title.
He's fought in front of the eyes of millions of people and new fans.
Load of shite. That's all the people that say that. That's the greatest. That is the fucking greatest con, as Russ would say, the biggest con since the Guinness fraud. Nobody gives a shit if those YouTubers are not now boxing fans. Guarantee you, they're not Shannon Briggs fans. They're not boxing fans. It's like when Floyd Mayweather went to fight in the WWE. It's not all of a sudden now the WWE didn't gain a whole lot of new fans, and boxing fans switched over to wrestling or whatever. It just doesn't fucking work like that. And that was, it was just pathetic seeing the likes of Haney and Billy Joe warming up the show for KSI and Logan Paul, who both got paid.
Those people, Rob, those people will only tune in if the YouTubers are fighting. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but he's already spoke about continuing that. And saying, oh well, they've subscribed for a month. Now we've got to put something on next month so that they stay for another month.
Oh, DAZN, yeah.
It's already happening.
I'm thinking from a Sky perspective, you see, but yeah, DAZN, you're right, yeah.
I'm telling you, social media is dictating the way these paydays are going more and more. It's a metric. They can look at these guys' combined social followings and know that they're going to earn X amount. If you're paying both of them fellas, both of them got a purse last night of $700,000. So if they're able to pay out 1.4 million in purses to fellas who've never had a fight in their life, based on what they're drawing through social networks, you can expect to see more of this shit go down the line. But that's about as much as you can say about it, really.
For me, there you go. There's an idea. If they get that KSI or the other guy or any of these other YouTubers, isn't it Weller, you call one of them, and gets them fighting on DAZN, say every 3 months or so, you could have people with a year's subscription rolling over there. You could see why they would do it, like.
Yeah, but as the tweet
Some
said
of
a
the
couple of
videos I
weeks
was
ago,
seeing on
it's
Twitter
great
now,
value.
Who was the idiots on commentary and stuff? It was Adam Smith. I mean, there was like some video.
It was DAZN commentary. No, it was DAZN commentary. Had like Sergio Garcia or Sergio Mora rather, and whoever the fuck else is on DAZN. It was the regular commentators. I think Ryan Garcia might have been special guest in as well.
The right person to do that podcast then.
Adam Smith was on one of the feeds, wasn't he?
Yeah, Sky had a kid on commentary that KSI has already fought at the Copper Box. That was when this YouTubers in the boxing game started about 3 years ago. Weller, his name was Joe Weller. And then they had another kid on who had Bazinga, who I'd never heard of until Thursday, when we realised that he did an interview with Boxing Social. It did over 1 million views, and I've never ever heard of him, and neither have any of us in the chat. What I would say about Billy Joe is we have seen some bad reigns of WBO, Reign of Terror, in our time. Nathan Cleverly being one of them, and the Billy Joe Saunders we seem to have been in a constant flux of get this one out of the way, and the next fight will be a big one. Whether that's been under the auspices of Frank or Edward now, get this one out of the way, big fights on the horizon. Now, Canelo does not give a flying fuck about the WBO middleweight or super middleweight title or whatever it goddamn's called. Doesn't care. Don't care about titles. I think Billy Joe last night was trying to say something along the lines of, oh, well, he only won a super title, so his super middleweight 4th division doesn't count. No one cares about that. Billy Joe Saunders is a non-puncher, a non-seller. He doesn't even talk that well. His backstory is going to be difficult to sell to the Americans. It's just not there. There's no real incentive. I would say not now, but generally, I would say that Eubank Jr. is more likely to fight Canelo in his career than Billy Joe Saunders is. Eubank's gone over. I saw that it was some sort of interview with the PBC. I know that's a division in America, but there was some sort of interview there that he's going over there to get these American fights. I know he started in a rather funny position against this Korobov, but he's
Charlo. They're talking, aren't
they? Yeah, definitely. But Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, I put in the chat last night. I didn't watch the fight, and I'm not going to watch the fight. Wouldn't it be great if Saunders got beat by a Mexican no Oprah? I didn't even know at the time that the fellow was actually Argentinian, and then it turns out that he was losing on 2 of the 3 cards. Is that right? And it was lackluster to one card. Well, okay, one card. But yeah. It's just, is in the space of 4 years, he's got a win over Willie Monroe in London. He ain't that good. And he's outboxed David Lemieux, who many people would outbox. That's his best fight is David Lemieux in Canada. Fair enough, but David Lemieux ain't no great shakes, is it? I just think his career
he looked very laboured last night as well. He looked very laboured last night. He wasn't up on his toes. He wasn't making the guy miss. He was kind of standing, walking him down. He just looked like he didn't train, man. He looked like he completely didn't train at all. And I heard him say during the week.
And I think he's got given that he's moved up to 168, and we all think that is not a weight issue, if you see what I mean. He's done that for commercial reasons or ease or money or whatever it may be. We're all confident he could go back and make 160 again. He's got 160 he would have had to train. He would have had there's no option but to train. But 168, he can, like Rob says, he can probably get away with not training a bit. I think he only arrived in America 5 days before the fight, saying he wasn't sleeping, blah, blah, blah. It's not good enough. It's no way near good enough. And I tell you won't be happy with it, and we don't like to give him too much praise. Fast Car won't be happy with that, because his modus operandi 101 is to get him in, get him to America, get him 3 quick fights or a couple of quick fights, get him busy, blah, 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 build to the big fight. You will not be happy with that.
The thing is, though, guys, here, Rob, hang on, just before you come in, let me know, it's fine, but this Corsera's, right, I was looking at his record, I'd never even heard of him, he'd never fought at super middleweight before. In his last fight, he fought for the vacant WBA Federball, sounds like a steroid, doesn't it, the Federball middleweight title, against the 7-5-5 guy. He'd never fought at super middle, and he'd never fought for a WBO title since 2018, and it was like a Latino title. I mean, how did this guy get a shot, man? It's just ridiculous.
That was brilliant.
It's hilarious because Eddie said the whole time in the build up to this, this is going to draw people in. They're going to see Billy Joe and they're going to be lifelong Billy Joe fans. But I tell you one thing, nobody will be tuning back in to see Billy Joe Saunders, the casual fans last night that saw that fight last night, and the KSI.
We're not going to be tuning back in.
He was better than the fucking Billy Joe one. Like
Saunders has just done what people, what the Matchroom Nut Huggers actually criticised Frank for doing, by the way, and burying him on shows against absolute fucking trash.
Yeah. That opponent last night hadn't boxed a 12-rounder until last night. So he'd never even fought a 12-rounder. The first 12-rounder he fought was last night against Saunders.
It's like when they got Jimmy Kelly in against Liam Smith. Do you remember that? He hadn't fought a 12-rounder, had he?
Well, to be fair, at least Liam Smith was honest and he basically went, "You're paying for my Christmas." So, I mean, at least Liam Smith was honest about that. He knew he was shy. And, I mean, he just...
Did Jimmy Kelly listen to this pod, by the way? Does anyone know? Because he did follow me one time on Instagram and then he unfollowed me very sharply after that. So
alright, Jimmy, worthy opponent. Worthy opponent.
Jimmy.
Either Eddie.
Deserve that chance, Jimmy. Deserve that chance.
How was that fight, that Jimmy Kelly fight?
So was I. Yeah, so was I, actually, yeah. It was the least Andy Lee, Billy Joe Saunders show, wasn't it? That was how long ago it was. Was that not on the undercard? Was the Smith thing? He was not. Oh, am I wrong there? I don't
think it was. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not sure.
Oh, I might have been at another Jimmy Kelly fight. Anyway, carry on.
Smido, a Jimmy Kelly fan, going to all these.
Well, I used to.
He follows him around the country, don't you, Smith?
It was. Yeah, it was.
And then another bad one that I wouldn't go back and watch again was Flanagan against that Zepeda, I think, at the MEN. That was absolutely terrible. Same night as Liam Williams.
Smido, it ended in a round and a half.
No, which
Flanagan Zepeda, he busted.
Oh no, different. No, Petrov.
Oh yeah, Petrov.
Oh, they replay that on Box Nation all the time. There's a reason to subscribe if ever you needed one.
God. That was the same night as Smith against Williams, which was a good fight. And then Flanagan and Petrov came on after, and the stadium was emptying fast.
Yeah, he emptied the arena.
Oh, it was shocking.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. Yeah, after such a good fight, Williams Smith, and Flanagan Petrov, it just emptied the arena. There was about 80 people in, and I was one of them towards the end. But yeah, I'll tell you what. I remember just before Billy Joe left Frank, they did try and make some fights for him, and John Ryder got offered the fight, and they couldn't work out the cash, things like that. Ryder, in his current form, would give Billy Joe Saunders a fight and could well beat him on the past two performances we've seen from Saunders at 168. Shefat Isufi hurt him, and
the thing is, John's sorry mate, but John just looks like more natural at the weight as well.
Yeah, people forget as well. Ryder was a 40 lock, but I tell you what, he probably gave Saunders one of his best fights at 160 as well for the British title. That was quite close.
That was close.
He did, and Oz, if you remember, you were probably speaking to him about this, but they kept him in the dressing room for ages that night.
Yeah, they did.
He thought he was fighting a lot earlier on the night.
Wasn't that another one of Frank's 1 a.m. jobs or something?
Yeah, he started real slow. It was like 11 o'clock when they got in the ring or something, wasn't it? And he'd been there waiting, so he started real slow, kind of gave up the first 5 rounds, and then came back into it. And even Saunders says he gave him his best fight, so. Yeah, I'd agree with that. A lot of people are writing Ryder off in this Callum Smith fight. You hear Callum Smith's names being tossed around for Canelo, and they're kind of overlooking Ryder in this fight.
I think he's a bit small, to be honest.
I'm not sure. I think if you can weather the early storm from Smith, he'll look to try and blast him out of there. I think
that's that left hook, man.
Look, Eric Skoglund was tagging Callum Smith at will. And that Nicky Holsken landed shots as well. That Holsken garbage. I mean, look, he can certainly punch, but Luke Blackledge went 10 rounds with Callum Smith at 168. Now, Blackledge is bang average at best. So we've seen it before where fighters are completely written off. Smith's having all these, we want Canelo at Anfield and things like that. People get ahead of themselves and they can come unstuck. Now, Smith may well be switched on and he's focusing solely on Ryder. But I've seen interviews about him talking about other fights, as have his brothers. Joe Gallagher, who trains him, no longer manages him. So underestimate Ryder at your peril, because I tell you what, he's in probably the form of his life, and what an upset it would be, and how it really would spoil the party, because they've fucked around with Smith far too long now. He went into the Super Series. We didn't really learn anything more about him against Skoglund and Holtzken. And look, it was a tremendous finish against Groves, who was clearly suffering with that shoulder injury. And then he handpicks Hassan and Dam, who is a middleweight. They've fucked around with Smith for a while now. And what an embarrassment and an upset it would be for them. They fucked around that long, and then they've pulled Ryder in, and then John pulls off the upset. And then look, Ryder is one of the main men then at 168 then. It would be fair to say, because technically, if he beats Smith, would he not be ranked number one? Because is Smith not the ring champion from that Groves fight, or not?
Not just saying it because Ryder's been on here a couple of times. I've got no connection with him. I would fucking love it if he beat Callum Smith.
I agree.
Really would. He's been in the away corner so often, that lad. He's been over to America. He was in the away corner against Billy Joe Saunders, and he's been, not. I wouldn't say chucked in's probably a little bit unfair here, because he has had a full training camp, etc., etc. But I just think that this is the difference.
Jobbed against Fielding as well. Jobbed against Rocky Fielding as well.
As Ozzy's alluded to, this is Callum Smith seems to be this is a stepping stone fight to him. Wrongly, I don't think it should be treated that way. But to John Ryder, I think, in this country, on normal Sky, etc., etc., this is his FA Cup final. It's not Callum Smith, so I bloody hope he does it. I really do.
I'm just catching up on the chat, and somebody said about who manages Callum Smith now. It's his brothers, Smig, Paul, and Stephen are both involved managing Callum now. So they're looking after his career from that perspective, rather than Joe Gallagher.
There you go, boys. Joe's out. No, I agree with the lads. I think Smith will win, but I'd love to see Ryder win. I think Smith's career is it doesn't excite me at all. It's just bullshit, man. I'm not interested. I wanted to see him in decent fights. I think this is a decent fight, and I'd love to see John Ryder do the business. So good luck, John. Hope you get it done. Gabe, you're there still with us. Did you manage to see the Jamel Herring Lamont Roach fight by any chance? Kubrat Pulev getting a win on the undercard against Rydell Booker. I couldn't find a copy of Herring Roach whatsoever. Did you see it, Gabe? You with us there, Gabriel?
Crying like a little bitch.
He's away crying like a little bitch.
I hope you fucking die.
Nah, we'll give up on him, I think. What else have we got then, guys? We have a question. Oh, before we do, Rob, you haven't told us about Inoue Donaire. Give us a brief rundown.
Oh, man. Yeah, exactly. Like, we're talking about KSI and Logan Paul. We could have been talking about Inoue Donaire. Like, absolutely brilliant from both of them. I mean, look, at Donaire obviously shown he's on the slide. He's lost kind of 6 fights. Most of them are coming his last 8, say. He's, 36 years of age, back down at 118 where he belongs. And, I think we gave him a puncher's chance last week, and that was it, and thought he was going to get destroyed. And boy, did he prove us wrong again. Went out and, had spells of, obviously the punch in the second round we would have an effect that we probably didn't know about at the time when it was, I think it was, did it cause a cut and fracture in orbital or something? So Inoue had double vision for most of the fight. So maybe in some of those rounds where Donaire was on top, Inoue couldn't see, but the movement of his feet and everything, he's absolutely sensational. And I think he probably could have got the knockout with the body shot. I think the ref did Donaire a favour because he turned away, but he hadn't gone, he hadn't hit the deck. And as as Inoue was moving in for the kill, the referee kind of just obstructed him like a football.
He shoulder barged him, didn't he?
Yeah, like a central defender at a fucking free kick or something. Like, just get out of here, like. And he bought Donaire some time, so maybe he was showing him a little bit of sympathy and letting him go out. But I think that would have been curtains for him if he hadn't have just jumped in the way there, because he showed massive grit to get back up from that shot. But if he'd have taken a couple more on the way down, I don't know if he'd have made it. But the rightful winner in a gritty, close fight, and that's what you want to see. You want to see fellas leave it all in the ring, and both of them did. Brilliant career for Donaire. Absolutely sensational fighter, as we said last week. You can't say enough good things about him. A nice guy, drug free, fought anybody and everybody, and was always in the fight, no matter who he was against. So I think if he called time on his career now, everybody would wish him all the best. And we look forward to seeing more of Inoue, who's just signed with Tom Bragg, has he? So the Bob Fathers picked up another one of the top pound for pound list there for his roster. So whatever you say about Arum, there he goes again. He got an eye for a fighter. He's got Lomachenko, Inoue, Crawford, and Fury right now. So shrewd move for the Bob Fighter, and hopefully goes down a storm in America, because he deserves it. Brilliant fighter.
Yeah, I agree. And like the guys said earlier as well, hopefully Inoue's management will push him onto these bigger fights and not allow Bob, as he tends to do, to stick him in with the too many puddings. The big one's coming next type of thing. Yeah,
well, that's the thing about Bob. I was just going to say, he might have nobody for him to fight, but he does have a lot of good fighters on his roster.
Just a thing for Bob, you mentioned them three guys, Inoue, Lomachenko, Crawford, all trained, all under Bob's wing, and all safely within the top 5 pound for pound. It's a shame, really, because in a nutshell, those guys Lomachenko, all three, have kind of not been far off each other weight-wise. I know it will never happen, i.e. Crawford started at lightweight, yeah. Lomachenko was down at 122, 126, so it's just come at the wrong stage, really, for them all. But I don't think we're going to see them in together, are we? But, what could have been, maybe.
What could have been, Smido, what could have been indeed. Couple for you, Andy. Feel free to speak on both or none, whatever takes your fancy. Over in Norway, for so long, professional boxing has been banned. It's back. As we know, they're running a card on Saturday evening, Nissasoaland. I haven't really got too much to say, but if you want to comment on that, you can. And over in Germany as well, who've we got? Dominic Bassel against Sven Fornling. I don't know if either of them guys are really going anywhere at light heavyweight. Germany, Norway, Andy, any interest?
Yeah, we'll just see it's an interim title fight, I think, for the WBA. Shock horror for some of the listeners and stuff, just make sure they get their pennies and that. The IBO title, Steve, as well. I know you're a big fan, so I saw you be watching that one. Norway. Well, not really much to write home about, I suppose. I mean, only one really that I don't suppose many people know, but Kai Robin Havnia, his dad was a WBO champ back in the day, around about about the 90s or whatever and stuff. I mean, I dare say a copy of that fight will be hard to come by in that, so not really much. As I say, I think that German card's got the big heavyweight that I'm interested, big Kadrio. So other than that, Gary Hyde's fighter as well in that card is Mohammed Rabbi.
Oh, Rabbi, is he still going?
He's what is he now? Don't know. He was an Olympic medalist, was he? No.
I think he was definitely in the Olympics. I don't know if he medalled. He's Moroccan, was he? I think.
I think so. So just maybe keep an eye on them. Obviously, the German fights would be easier to come by. But the Norway card, not much right away to watch.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Shout out to, where are we here? The Canadian card. I'm not going to talk about it for too long, but Jose Luis Zuniga's going in against Brandon Cook. Brandon Cook fought. He's supposed to fight Kell Brook at one point, but on the undercard, Sukhdeep Singh Bhatti is there, a name that I'm sure people won't be very familiar with. But about a couple of years ago, United Boxing Promotions got in touch with me and ended up writing some kind of a script for Singh Bhatti.
Sorry, what?
And ended up writing a script. Listen, ended up writing a script for them. For this guy, right, a promotional script, because he was going to be going places, and then basically he never fought again since then. So what I'm saying is, Rob, I've been keeping an eye on his career. This is another career that I've managed to fuck up, man. He's completely gone off the rails since I got involved. So they've never been back with me since because I think I've destroyed the career of Sukhdeep Singh Bhatti. He's 6-0 going in against Hector Carlos Santana. So best of luck to him. I'm not involved anymore. So hopefully he's on the comeback trail.
I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on his career or whether Sukhdeep Bhatti is one of your internet saved searches.
Evil. But fair. What else have we got? Gabe? Are you back with us, Gabe? Speak now. I don't know what's happened to Gabe. I'm starting to get a bit worried about him. Has he been shot? Has he shot somebody else? Is he down in the trapdoor maybe? Sometimes we hear it opening, don't we?
I certainly think the latter, Steve, about shooting somebody else. We know he's got form with that gun of his, so who knows? Maybe an intruder's come onto his land and he's pulled out the shotgun.
I'd love to live next door to Gabe, I would.
All the noises coming out through the walls.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I think you've led it perfectly into the return of the UK's premier promoter next Saturday.
Are we talking about Big Mick by any chance?
The one and only Penguin, Michael Hennessy, yeah.
So is this actually going to happen then? I believe you're referring to the Dilmagani fight against Fonseca, which was supposed to take place before. Is Fonseca well again now?
Well, according to BoxRec, yeah, but he was well when he got over here, and then about half an hour before the fight was sick. So it got pulled, so they're trying again at York Hall, aren't they? John Joe Nevin, that's a name from the, God, when did he turn over as pro? It seems like years ago.
Well, he fought Luke Campbell in the Olympics, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, God, he's 30 now. When did he turn over? God, he turned over 5 years ago now.
Well, he's got all the talent, but he got that beating, didn't he? And a few things behind the scenes. It hasn't been plain sailing for him.
I think Rob knows more about John Joe Nevin than a lot of us, to be honest, in terms of what happened and things like that. But yeah, he's fighting Freddie Fonseca, obviously Francisco's brother. And then, there's a couple of others on there. Conor Marsden, Craig Woodruff's a good fight over a 6-rounder. That's quite good, actually. And then the rest is just, nothing to like bang the drum about. But yeah, Mick, he's ploughing on. I think he's got a Channel 5 TV date for this. Let's see if Francisco Fonseca can not be sick this time and actually fulfills the fight. Because I mean, I was speaking to John Evans about Dilmagani a while ago when he helped set him up to come on the podcast and rates him highly. Quite talented apparently, so it'll be interesting to see what he's actually like, to be honest, against this Fonseca.
Well, we know he sparred Marquez before, but tell me about the venue, because do you remember last time they were supposed to do it somewhere down south? Was it Kent or something? And then they changed it completely a week before to Bolton, and now they're back down in York Hall again. Yeah,
well, he's teamed up with Mo Pryor for this, so I think Mo Pryor looks after John Joe Nevin, I think. Now, and I think basically Mo Pryor has done the undercard with a lot of lads that he looks after and a couple of other locals, and basically Mick's just putting on the putting on the main event. Well, yeah, I'm that as well. I've no doubt it'll be the finest VIP buffet that you can get for your tickets. But yeah, that's the only thing I can assume. Now, look, Mick's not got. I mean, I can't even be. I'm amazed that. Mick's still going along. I'm surprised that he still even has a fighter. I don't think he's involved with Hughie Fury anymore. He blew all his money in that Joseph Parker fight. And then, that's it. I mean, look, he plods on. Not really much success, but maybe Dilmagani could be the remaking of Michael Hennessy. And his lad's fighting as well. Mick Hennessy Jr. Yeah, he's coming off that draw, isn't he? Out in Dubai, what's it called? Out in Jeddah or something like that.
I said this before about Hennessy, right? What's happened to Hennessy? He has had on Channel 5 at some stage in their career Chris Eubank Jr., Tyson Fury, Hughie Fury, Kid Galahad, all of which
James DeGale, Carl Froch.
Yeah, no, Froch wasn't on Channel 5. He's had DeGale, so and how he's still got a contract to show. Like, I cannot believe that we're in this era of, over the last 5 years. I mean, maybe not now, it's not golden, but, the last 5 years have been pretty golden for British boxing, whether we can pick holes in it or not. And he's been the only person to have anything that even gets anywhere close to the main 5 terrestrial TV channels. It's staggering. It's like, what has he got? What has he got on a Channel 5 sports executive? I do not know.
Nudes, probably, something like that, or whatever. Because I don't know why else you'd even persist with Mick Hennessy. Absolute time waster. Again,
Steve will know this fight. The best fight on there, what is shown under Mick, was that Craig Kennedy, the Welsh lad, light heavyweight or cruiser, that kind of era, against that Belgian Congo fella, whatever that was.
Oh no!
What was his name?
No. I know which was the best one. It was in the light heavyweight tournament. Was it Dawson, Clarkson, or somebody? That was the best fight.
Matty Clarkson against.
Dickinson.
Yeah, was it John Lewis Dickinson?
Was it Dickinson? I think.
No, it wasn't. No, not John Lewis. It was his brother. What's his name? Travis. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant fight. That. Yeah, for 6 rounds, he just went hell for leather, didn't we? Yeah. Well, that was Mick in his prime. That one, he set up that. What was it? The Maxi Nutrition Tournament or something like that.
Yeah, Dean Francis was in it, wasn't he? Bob Adgersafe and all them boys.
Yeah. That was good. Yeah, I remember that fight you were on about. Joel Jecko, wasn't it? Joel Tamwig Jecko or something like that.
Yeah, that's the one in Cardiff. Yeah.
I was pissed off with that. I backed that Jecko, and he got fucking done on the cards completely.
I think I did as well.
Twice. Yeah, I remember that. I was really pissed off. But Mickey. This might be the return of him, Smid. He's probably listening to this podcast now, and he's the reason he continues, because he's spurred on by the hate from us.
We're available, Mick. Get in touch. Over in France next Friday night, Michel Soro against Cedric V2 could be a pretty decent fight. Goulamarian, he's on the undercard against Kane Watts. Rob, question for you came in from Holt over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. He said, what are the Asylum's thoughts, especially Rob, on Ryan Burnett's retirement? What do you think about that, Rob? I wouldn't say his heart wasn't in it, but he never seemed like the guy who really liked the limelight and could be arsed. Maybe that's a bit unfair.
No, he's a talented kid. Won his world titles, and unfortunately his career's been cut short. It happens in injury. Fortunately for him, I suppose you could say it's an injury that allows him to carry on the rest of his life. You know what I mean? He hasn't got CTE or anything like that, or any brain injury, so it's a back injury. It's put him out of competing at a high level. But I'm sure if he wants to find a career in the sport, he'll be able to with his credentials. And just an unfortunate ending for a guy who we probably didn't see the best of yet.
I agree. When I said can't be arsed, I meant couldn't be arsed with the fuss, and sort of if you got an injury, the way Anthony Ogogo would have kept on trying, he's probably said, look, I've got money in the bank, my health's more important, I don't need this. He wasn't totally in love with boxing, like to a sort of Nick Blackwell extent, like no matter what happens to you, you still want to get in and spar. That's the type of can't be arsed I was talking about. But yeah, he was very talented, and I agree with Rob, I don't think we did see the best of him, especially in that tournament anyway. Also, talking about Adam Booth, anybody want to jump in on this one, then feel free. Holt also said, who is Adam Booth even training now, besides Hype Job, Josh Kelly, and the shit Eubank? Anybody want to say about Adam Booth? I think it's maybe the only couple, is it?
You forgot one of the up-and-coming talented females that he's got in his books, Shannon Courtney, the baby-faced assassin. I know Rob Kelly's high on her and thinks she can go.
Ooh. Yep, like a bit of Shannon Courtney.
I'm trying to think who else he's got, actually. Michael Conlon.
I want to know what you put in the background there, Steve.
What?
I want to know what you were just playing in the background there.
Wasn't playing anything?
Yeah, lying bastard.
You fucker.
Just playing nothing?
Yeah, fucking hole you.
What?
Joe Joyce as well. He has. Does he not train Joe Joyce? Adam Booth? He does, yeah. Joe Joyce. Yeah. So he's still got quite a few Booth.
I see he's opened up a new gym or something like that.
I was just going to say that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Has he?
Right. I did have another one, I can't find it.
There's another MT card next week. MTK
Yeah,
card as
I was
well.
going to ask you about that. Rocky Fielding, Martin Murray, the man who refuses to retire, Terry
I
Flanagan,
thought he had
Natasha
retired.
Jonas.
Obviously no.
No, he's
Obviously not.
fighting against Sladan Janjanin.
Oh,
Yeah.
There you go.
But I
27.
thought he had retired though. Obviously no, but I thought that was the general consensus. He was chucking it.
Well, he probably should,
I
I
think-
think, but he's black
I
with
think he
vengeance.
considered it after that and damn fight. But just
take it.
continue and basically box without any I think he still felt he could win a world title prior to the Endam fight, and I think he just now wants to continue basically boxing without pressure and just see where he gets.
So I'd imagine Rocky Fielding's just basically having those guys a tune-up for Clarissa Shields or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, Fielding's a guy called Abdallah.
I've just seen that Dar Salami say to you, I bet you can find some of his fights on YouTube fighting in a dark alley somewhere.
I was going to say, Abdallah Paziwapazi.
Pazi.
Yeah, Paziwapazi from Tanzania.
Nickname Dula Mabe. Or Mabe,
Yeah.
sorry. Not Dula Mabe.
No, Dula Mbabe, yeah. Oh, God knows what he'll be like then. Absolutely no idea. Can clearly punch according to his
Shit, man,
record.
that's it.
Look, 23 KOs in 26 wins, and we've seen these Tanzanians that they can actually crack. I mean, there was that McQuino who iced Sam Eggington, wasn't there? I mean, like,
I found the fight.
he's probably fighting in some fucking like just random, like you said, random like a back garden or something like that. They fight all over, don't they?
My man, one time Joaquino, you're dead right there. I want Kell Brook. Who next? I want Kell Brook next.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever happened to him?
One time Joaquino.
Kel's, there's a reason Kel's stayed out the way because he doesn't want any.
He want that smoke
Aquino,
one
does
time. He doesn't want that smoke at one time, Babby.
You're a fucking bomb. You're a fucking
Number
asshole.
one on the planet. Beat Rabchenko. Eddie Hearn speaks 154, number one. They're all running, they're all scared. Meanwhile, the titles have changed hands and Kell Brook still hasn't got a fight ready. He's still waiting for Amir Khan to say, "Moon bitch."
It's a freaking joke. He should just retire. He's a waste of space.
Fucking waste of career, man. Wasted career and talent.
There he
Terry
was
Flanagan.
recently, number one at light middleweight as well, and he just let it all fall away. Go on, Ozzy.
Terry Flanagan's on that card as well.
I know,
That
just
MTK.
no interest in that, man. Are you interested in that? You're not, are you really? I'm not.
No, couldn't care. I mean, he's boxing somebody, Jairo Duran from the Honduras.
Fucking Honduras.
I was gonna say, where did he pull these guys from? Who the hell is this MTK matchmaker? I want to applaud him for what just put. Like, how do you find out about Abdallah Paziwapazi and like we say, Jairo Duran and people like that? Just
Or Bianca Mialith, who's 3-3, 3 knockouts with 1 knockout defeat. You know, she's like.
Oh, here we go. Those 3 wins are in Hungary. Probably don't even exist.
Yeah.
Well, she's beat the same woman twice. That Virag Hovath stopped her in the first round and in the second round, and then she beat Nicolette Szabo, who was a debutant. Fucking hell.
They can't be real boxers, man. Must have caught him shoplifting or something and say, "Here, son, I'll not dob you in. I've got a little job for you on Saturday night."
Yeah, get in the ring with Bianca, and if you do that, we'll let you off or something like that. But yeah, I love it. Like the first win over Virag Hovath took place in Morrison's pub in Budapest. It's fuck knows where these people get plucked from, but it's quite amusing. Yeah.
Right, let's move on.
Tickles me.
Let's move on to the big one, guys. I don't know if Gabe's back with us. I don't know whether he'll have anything to say on this at all. We'll start with you, Rob, over in Scotland. One that we're all looking forward to. Should be on YouTube, hopefully. Lee McGregor against Cash Farouk, Commonwealth champion, against British bantamweight champion 7-0 against 13-0. 2 Scottish guys going at it at an early stage of their career. It's brilliant to see. Whenever the fight got made, Rob, we were talking about fights like Arthur against Limond and Craig Doherty was about at that time. It's good to see them thrown in. The loser can obviously rebuild. I'm sure you're looking forward to it like we are.
Yeah, just like what you said, whoever loses doesn't really lose in the long run, like as long as they put in a good performance. Like. So I favour Cash Farouk in this one, but having said that, I haven't seen much of McGregor, so I'll have to just give you my honest opinion. I haven't seen much of him, but yeah, 2 domestic fighters coming together early. What's not to like?
What's not to like, Smido? I don't want to do you a disservice and say that you're probably not familiar with these guys, but I would urge you, as a former hardcore turned casual to tune in, because I think this is going to be
Steve,
a cracking
I don't give a
fight.
shite. I
No,
think
watch it,
you're
Smido,
actually
honestly.
on the wind-up here, aren't you? All
What?
these comments.
McGregor against Farouk?
I think this is a wind-up. You probably do. You're probably getting me though, because I never heard of either of them, so don't bother me.
This
It's a great fight, man.
No,
Great
I'm
fight.
calling it as a wind-up. It's gone too smoothly. It's gone like you've bigged it up, Steve. Rob's gone straight in saying it's a cracker, and then Ozzy there as well. I'm going to call a wind-up.
It actually is. It actually is.
I'm really looking forward to it, Steve. Yeah, I'll be watching it next week. Yeah.
You take yourself off and watch KSI Logan Paul on rerun, and we'll watch McGregor instead.
Yeah.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not trying to kill you, man. Do you know what I mean?
Go on then, Ozzy, you jump in on this one. We're not winding Smido up, are we? It's a genuine
not at all.
top clash.
And I tell you what, look again who is promoting this fight. It's MTK again, and you've got to applaud him. It is a brilliant fight, and one that we felt probably wouldn't happen with the state of boxing that it can be from keeping people apart. And I've no doubt that, I tell you what, if a bigger promoter was involved, this fight wouldn't be happening at this stage of the career. But look, British title on the line, Commonwealth title on the line at bantamweight. It's a cracker, absolute cracker. I will probably favour Farouk, but I think this is a genuine 50-50. Wouldn't be shocked at either of the results. I like the way both guys have been matched. I think Farouk, from memory, is the bigger lad at the weight. But yeah, an excellent fight, and one that you just want to sit back and enjoy, because like I say, I can't praise it enough. It's a cracker. A loss now means nothing for either fighter whatsoever. They can definitely come back. They're both young. Like we said, losing now will definitely not destroy the career at ages 22 and 23 respectively. So yeah, great fight, and one I'll probably favour Farouk in, because I think he's probably been matched slightly better, but he has had more fights and probably just has that bit more experience. But as I say, a result either way wouldn't surprise me. And again, I wouldn't rule out the what's it called either. I wouldn't rule out a draw potentially, since sometimes this fight can be that close. Even the judges can't split them. So yeah, great fight. And I think Andy's going to this as well. I think it's sold out.
Andy was talking about
Steve,
going. Tosh,
if Farouk is being accompanied to the ring by Bradshaw, I'll tune in.
There you go, everybody. Smido,
yeah,
we'll tune in, Ozzy.
Yeah, I'll definitely I'll be watching regardless. Yeah, 100%. Brilliant fight.
Don't know what Gabe thinks about
Crying
this.
like a little bitch.
We seem to have lost him. Yeah, I was saying Tosh in the chat is going for Lee McGregor. A lot of people seem to be going for Farouk. I'm going for Farouk as well. Andy, if I remember last time we spoke about this fight, whenever it was made, I didn't think you were going at the time. You might be going now. You were actually possibly slightly favouring Lee McGregor.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about that as well. You know, as you say, mate, I endorse everything you guys are saying. That yeah, it was a natural fight to get made. You know, two Scotsmen, both were, you know, one person's holding the British, one's holding the Commonwealth. You know, as you say, maybe with a bigger promoter, but these guys might have been sidestepped and stuff, maybe moved on to the kind of European, maybe a fringe world title level and that. But I'm really pleased this fight's happening. Pure 50-50, but I'm siding with McGregor. Believe it or not, these two guys are actually quite pally in that, you know, they room together as Scottish amateurs and stuff. So the respect's there, hence the reason why there's not been really a lot of talk for both guys. They're just basically, you know, heads down, doing their business, and you know, may the best man win. It's business is business at the end of the day. As I think it was last month's Box Monthly was kind of talking about it as well. You know, so Farouk, you know, he's very much improved. You know, he's constantly working on his head movement. He was saying that as well. So, you know, he's in the gym, you know, sometimes like maybe 30-40 minutes before his trainer's there to, you know, start training him and stuff. So that's dedication to his craft. He's kind of grown into it as well. McGregor, I think, just with his amateur background and experience stuff, I just kind of favour him somehow. I know the kind of professional fights and stuff, it's there's a bit of distance and stuff, but I fancy McGregor. Other than that, I just hope that there's no kind of dodgy scorecards and that. If there's a close competitive fight, let's get a kind of fair reflection on the cards, and let's just hope it's a great fight. Undercard wise, I think Kieran Smith's fighting on it. I don't know, some Italian guy he's fighting. Tommy Philbin as well on the card against some sort of kind of Balkan fighter. And keep a wee eye on Reece McFadden, who upset Andrew Selby back in the Commonwealth Games and that. I think it's his third fight or something, fourth fight. Don't know who he's fighting that, but I dare say it'll be something non-descriptive at this point anyway. But yeah, but it's all about the main event. Kash Farouk and Lee McGregor. I'm going to go McGregor on points at this point. Something running about the lines of I'll go 116, 112 to McGregor.
Yeah, two Irish guys to look out for on the undercard as well. Excuse me, Paddy Donovan and P.S. O'Leary. The guy Kieran Smith's fighting is called Vincenzo Bevel Aqua. That sounds quite interesting there. A few water-based references. Smido, before we go on to Bellew of the Weeks, Paco threw in a question last week which I wasn't able to get to. We'll get to it right now with your expert opinion. You were also tagged in on this one, so I'm sure you're primed. It was regarding Canelo against Kovalev. Is Anthony Yarde going to take the WBO belt hostage once Canelo throws it in the bin? Hashtag Project 24. Hashtag Kittens in the Camp. Hashtag Crying Like a Little Bitch. What do you think, Smid?
Well, he would have to win it before he can take it hostage, i.e. through I'm guessing we're alluding to a vacant world title fight. What do the WBO rankings look like?
That's a good question, Smido. You're the main man with all the questions.
While you're looking, Steve, the short answer is yes. They will take it hostage because that's the tried and tested route, what Frank does, particularly with WBO titles. But, I mean, I think I might have mentioned this a few weeks ago. You know, this franchise thing that is a mess. It is a mess. Mm-hmm. I do half get it with Canelo. I think I've either said that on the pod or in the chat. It's unpopular opinion, but I do half get it with Canelo because I don't get it with anyone else like Lomachenko or anything like that. But because he's fluid in whichever weight he's going to fight at. Clearly Mexican, clearly going to have a bias from WBC as he has throughout his career anyway. So I don't know. I do kind of half get it. But in terms of yards, yeah, they'll take it hostage, but they've got to win it first.
I don't see it. I'm looking at the rankings here, guys. Actually, just ahead of him, Ozzy, we've got a few names that I've never heard of. Jesse Hart's there, Dominic Bassel. You think they'd be winnable fights. And also, at number 3, Umar Salamov, the Russian, who actually has a win over a guy we were talking about recently. Who was that African? Abdullah Paziwapazi. How's that for a bit of knowledge for you, Smid? He lost to Salamov.
Funny how these names keep cropping up, isn't it? Well, that's where he's been put in. Abdullah Paziwapazi. Lost in a round out in Russia, so yeah, clearly enough to get him over to fight Rocky Fielding anyway. But no, I mean, look, Yard's down at 9 now, so it's going to be interesting if he did get an automatic shot. I think he'd have to fight some sort of final eliminator to get thrown in for a potential shot. I mean, look, Alvarez is above him. Who's that? Robert? I'm not even going to pronounce his name. The Polish guy, Maxime Vlasov, Jesse Hart. Gilberto Ramirez.
It will 40-0 now, Ramirez. He's 40-0.
Fucking hell. Wow. It'd be interesting. I'm genuinely interested to see what route they'll go with Yard next. Look, he got paid a fortune off to fight Kovalev. Absolute fortune. What'll happen? I don't know. I think no doubt they'll try and stick around at some sort of that level. I mean, I'm looking there now. It could potentially pluck. I don't think they'll. I think ideally they'd try and get him back on this card in December. You know, just to tick him over before Christmas and then start again early year. But it'd be interesting. I agree with Smith. If they do capture the belt, it'll certainly be a poor run of defences. But at the same time, he'll probably have to beat somebody better than he'll defend against, knowing the history of the WBO belt.
It made me think about the WBO situation. Sorry, Steve. was there suspicions around Kovalev earlier in his career, because he used to be able to go 12 rounds at a canter, like the B-Hop fight. Not a fear of him blowing a gasket, punching throughout the whole 12 rounds. And then against Ward, comes unstuck in the second half of the fight, starts to show signs that his gasket will blow, and it just happens every time since. Like, so I don't know if it's a case that Ward exposed him, or was there a mix in there that he was, when he was manhandling fellas, there was no sign of a gasket issue. It just made me think when you were talking about the potential lineup there for the title. I don't think he's going to be. I think he's going to retire now, isn't he, Kovalev? Like.
I would imagine so. Rob, while you're ready to rumble, Jason Chukwu threw a question in for you in the chat. I'm not really sure what language he's speaking, but maybe you'll understand. He said, ask Rob if Anthony Joshua will become the Takeshi 69 of boxing if he loses against Andy Ruiz.
Well, I started telling you, Takeshi 69 is a rapper from New York who was basically came out of nowhere, a viral sensation, and was associating himself with the Bloods. I think he had a shootout at the Barclays after the night of Broner. Him and Broner were exchanging words, and anyway, he got caught by the feds, and he basically told on everybody. He cooperated fully with the feds and is not going to take witness protection. He's going to come out and continue his career, but he basically told on all the boys what they were doing.
Is that idiot with all tattoos over his face?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, is Chukwu thinking that if Joshua doesn't win against Ruiz, he starts calling out everybody who's on the gear,
And hey, I was looking into that Takeshi story last week. I don't reckon he'll have to snitch.
He's already done it. They've already put him on the stand, and he's already told on camera.
I think they'll end up doing a deal. I'll send you the video link to it.
Yeah, but I think he's a place. I think he was working with the feds from beforehand. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
There you go, Rob, dropping the truths on a Sunday evening. Enough truths. Let's go on to the belly of the weeks. Just before we do so, anybody have anything they want to throw in? Anything I might have missed? Whenever you said Takashi, I was thinking of them things. Remember Tamagotchi? Those little pet things that you used to get. That's what I thought Chukwu was talking about.
Tamagotchi 69.
Yeah.
What the kids are all looking for this Christmas. Comes with a little microphone, just listens to all the shit that's going on in your house. And tells on you.
You have to put the dog out for a shit. Younger listeners, Rob, might not know what on earth we're talking about.
I don't care if the feds are bugging me. They're only going to hear me talking boxes shit anyway. So what the fuck? What are they going to find out?
Absolutely. Right, guys, let's go on to Belly of the Weeks for episode 348. Ozzy's still with us. Gabe is back with us as well. Good to have him. Rapping Rob Kelly, Adam Smitho-Smith and Andy Patterson. Okay, first one in that I have is from Zach T100. I've been called a casual fan because I cannot wait for this card, but there's a vision at Matchroom Boxing to grow the sport of boxing. Roll on Sunday morning. Hashtag KSI versus Logan. Hashtag Team KSI. Nominated by Sean Roberts 131. Simon Says Ware has nominated Ramnish Sharma. Callum Smith is too big and too strong for Canelo. 6'3" and as tough as they come. Smith is smart at boxing from range. Smith stops him in my view. Simon has also nominated Matthew Macklin after the Crawler fight last week. Excuse me, guys. I had Crawler losing and said so, but it doesn't really matter, in the sense that there was no real significance to the fight. It was fair as well. It was a last dance fight for Crawler. There you go then, Ozzy. It doesn't matter about the Spanish gentleman and his ranking and stuff. There was no significance to the fight, so things were fair in Matthew's eyes. What do you think, Oz?
Fucking disgraceful. Sorry, I'm just brushing my teeth. Absolute piss take. Absolute piss take. How can Macklin say that? It doesn't matter. Some guy's career is on the line there. Absolute bollocks. This is what you're up against. It's an absolute joke.
You can swallow
getting stuck in there. The Listerine flying all against the mic as we speak. Let's move on. Sorry about putting Ozzy on the spot there. I need a drink of water, you see. Go on, Andy.
No, I've just laughed at Ozzy. I can just imagine like he's got all that fucking toothpaste in his face, like spunk and that. He's trying to talk at the same time, you know.
Big foamy mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Try and find a sound clip for him, but I haven't got one. Trading Leather Boxing has nominated Eddie Hearn. Morning, everybody. Off to LA. Some great news dropping for UK fight fans this morning. I think Eddie was referring to the Jacobs-Chavez fight, but Trading Leather Boxing said, fuck me, it's going to be Dave Allen against some Ugandan pudding. Hashtag the Rhino returns. Ted Barrett has nominated, he thinks it's Umar, for talking about Gareth A. Davis, who has done an about turn on the KSI fight. It's funny how these guys all do an about turn when the checks start rolling in, isn't it? I was very critical at first, says Gareth A. Davis. Gareth A. Davis does a 360 on KSI Logan Paul. I think he means a 180, says Ted Barrett. It must be Umar. Ted did throw a question in, actually. I've forgotten to read that, Ted. I'll get to that at the end. Sky Sports Boxing, KSI, I feel like I can definitely fight other pro boxers and beat them. Tommy Cahill nominated him for that one. Greg Cross isn't happy with the WBC. WBC Super Bantamweight champ Ray Vargas and flyweight mandatory Julio Cesar Martinez have tested positive for minute trace elements of clenbuterol and VADA tests. WBC have decided to take no action, as they believe it was due to contaminated Mexican meat, as with Canelo in 2018. The WBC, Andy, not only are we throwing in this one, but this might be a good chance to throw in as well. What was the other one? They put in a WBC amateur title for the first KSI. I mean, this WBC, man. I know this is a stupid thing to say, because they're all ridiculous, these bodies, but the WBC are an absolute share of shite at the moment.
They are quickly coming on the back end of the WBA rapidly. I mean, I don't know who... It was the blonde-headed one. He's got a brother, I think, who's got some sort of WBC amateur title for some fight in London or something like that. I mean, I didn't even know this title existed until I seen him fucking prancing about there. Like, remember when Billy Joe Saunders won the WBO title for the very first time? He's cutting about the town with it on and stuff like that, driving about in his car and that. That's what this prick was like. He's like that Arsenal fan, that fucking, what do you call him? He's cutting about with that fucking boxing belt as well. What a shambles it was, man.
It's like our thief Daniel with his RBO title.
Yeah.
You would though, wouldn't you, Andy? If you had a UBO belt or a GBO belt like Saul Farah, you'd walk around with it, wouldn't you?
High off a cliff. Seriously, I wouldn't even thank you for it, mate. I mean, it's just like Inoue, for example. I mean, there's an example, handing back the WBC Diamond Belt. You know, I fucking don't know what that shit. He would rather have the WBA Super title than the WBC Diamond title. Yeah, it's just the fucking two WBA belts he had on, by the way. I wouldn't even take the WBC one. It's just fucking shambles it is.
Lee the alcoholic frot just come up with a good one as well. When Eubank Jr. went on a tour of clubs with his IBO belt and turned up at random shows and things
with the
like
coppers
that.
and that.
Yeah, posing for pictures with the belt. He just randomly rocked up to a meal with it over his shoulder.
Well, wasn't Johnny Nelson a man of principle? Whenever he beat Carl Thompson, didn't he refuse the... I think he refused the IBO belt or something. Didn't want to fight for it. Preferred the prestigious WBU, maybe.
Dr. Hitman's a fan of taking the RBO belt to like car dealerships and other things as well, isn't he, Steve?
Yeah.
Dr. Hitman, I fucking love that name, by the way.
The dentist smashes out your teeth and fixes them for you. They get some publicity.
It sounds like Harold Shipman, doesn't it? Hey, Dr. Hitman.
Lethal left jab.
Lethal jab, right.
I'm not the first to have said that, but there you go. Moving on, everybody. Box Royalty has nominated Lee Wiley. Call me crazy, but Canelo challenging Andy Ruiz for the heavyweight title isn't as far-fetched as it may seem. Declan Graffin has nominated B-Hop when on Podcast Row, saying there are 3 health lifestyles: vegan, vegetarian, and Presbyterian. That's from B-Hop.
Presbyterian.
Dairy-free Presbyterian. B-Hop's off his nut, isn't he, man?
Oh man, was it B-Hop that said this? I'm not going to cross to Europe to fight in Australia or something like that? Was it how it said that? It was something along the lines.
He made Bun shit himself, so he'll forever be in our debt for that. Good old Bun.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, this was a good one. I like this one this week. Announced, Tommy Fury's ring return has now been made official for the undercard of Dubois versus Fujimoto, December the 21st at the Copper Box. Opponent to be confirmed. Thomas Cowan 13 jumped in and said, someone like Sullivan Barrera would be a good opponent.
Fucking hell.
Fucking Sullivan Barrera.
Can you imagine that? Talk about steps up after coming off wins against Jevgenis Andreevs and Callum Hyde. in his third fight after a summer in Love Island, Tommy Fury fights Sullivan Barrera. Oh,
I don't know if I'd fancy him against Marco Antonio Barrera, to be honest, right now.
No.
Fucking hell, man, that's just
That's a
priceless,
front runner
isn't
for
it?
me, man. That's a good one. That's Daniel Hersey nominated that one, so yeah, I liked that one. Made me lol when I saw that. Trading Leather Boxing has nominated David Hay, talking about Usyk and Chisora. Gavin Stevens has nominated NDL Ringside, one of these YouTube wankers. He was videoing himself with Shannon the Cannon, acting all pally, we're big mates, and meanwhile he was putting on the screen Shannon the Cannon is a nonce as a subtitle below it. One of these dickheads. Gerwin has said, can we have numerous... Belly of the Week, for the numerous David Hay accounts posting the heavyweight championship win while the fight of the year was going on. Yeah, David Hay, for some reason, while Inoue was fighting Donaire and everyone was interested in that, David Hay and all his accounts kept on tweeting out, David Hay won the world title 10 years ago. Tweet us back where you were at that moment. And everyone's like, we're not interested. We're watching Inoue against Donaire, Andy. He's always one for the limelight. Biggest con man that the public has ever seen. David Hay.
David Hay, yes. I mean, you know what? I was conned by him, by the way, and that's why I'm such a cynical bastard these days, because I bought into the hype. You know, I believed he was going to beat Klitschko. I fucking went to go and watch him do it, and he blamed it on a wee toe, and I got fucking soaking wet after the fight. You fucking big minge. You big minge.
As did I, man.
I was fucking fuming at that, you fucking bitch. Pure bitch. And then he pulled into fights with injuries. You know, it's the only fight I've been to abroad actually. Well, in fact, it's the only fight that I've actually planned to go to abroad where I've actually been shitting it, that you just felt that this fight just might not happen because he had previous for pulling out. You know, yeah, fucking big bitch. Honestly, God, I'll never forget it.
Not only did I have a similar disappointment to Andy, I actually booked a holiday a couple of years later than that. I booked a holiday and I paid extra to come back a week earlier so I could watch the Fury and Hay fight, because I think it was at the MEN and I had tickets. And that got called off while I was away as well.
I can't even moan. It was a good trip, like, but just, you know, you go to watch the boxing, right, and you go with the expectation that this guy, you know, this guy's going to do it, you know. Before Brexit and that, he's going to do it for Great Britain, and he's going to bring the heavyweight title back home like Lennox Lewis did that, and then he fucking shits the bed like an absolute fucking bitch.
That stadium though, sensational, but the rain was shocking. And I've said this many a time, every time it comes up, but the best thing about that night was Terry Dunstan getting wiped out by Ola Ofalabe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got a bit.
Got proper white light, Paul Williams style.
The mouth guard, but also I actually watched it come out his mouth and just seen it just go like 10 rows at the ringside. It was fucking amazing shot. What a icing that was.
David Hay and Terry Dunstan, who both won I think I'm right in saying this, European title by both icing, I've forgotten his name now, the Ukrainian or whatever he was in the first round. Dunstan did it and then Hay did the same thing. What do you call him?
Bonyan?
No, there was... It doesn't even matter, you know, to be honest. No, sorry guys. I'm sure someone in the chat will say that, or tell me. It was Alexander Gurov. That's the one. Gurov. Yeah, Gurov. Yeah, there you go. I'm pretty sure Jude Dunstan had done the same thing to him a few years earlier. So there you go. That's right. Hay was exciting. He had fights against Gurov. His fight with Fragomeni was a good fight. He went to France. He had a sort of duplicate career. There was one side of him where he took on the Thompson and the threats of Valuev, but on the other side he would pull out and he would sell you a dud against Demore. He would sell you that he was fit against Bellew. Real sort of 52 faces to his career, I always think. Not that I want to go down that road, but there you go. What have we got? Someone else thrown one in here. Joel Archard, Fight Disciples, best review of KSO versus Logan Paul 2 I've read so far. It was better than watching Lawrence Okoli. Brutal. Says Fight Disciples. Anthony at Antidon100. This is a good one from sibbyboxing.org. They put up a video of these guys in America. I think it was some American radio show, American talk show, and the one was a pure casual. They said to him, who do you want to see Canelo fight next? And he said, there's only two people I want to see Canelo fight next. Terence Crawford and Vasyl Lomachenko. That was the two names he was coming out with. I'm sure a few of the guys would have seen that on Twitter during the week. Friggin' hell.
Is that a top rank fanboy, I take it, aye?
I don't know who he was. I think it was like radio Aussie talking, you know. The guy didn't really know what he was on about. A bit like us.
The thing is, though, right, if you're going to go on and talk about that, at least just pluck a couple of names of obscurity out the actual weights. Not guys at fucking 147 and at 135. Unbelievable. Where the fuck do these people come from to even say that? It's just absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Will Michael has been nominated by Adam, getting towards the end of these now. Amir Khan caused Canelo more problems than Kovalev and all other recent opponents. If only he hadn't got caught by that big right hand, Khan would be considered a pound for pound great. I think that was a bit of a troll. Chad Hogan has nominated Kodak Blake. I love Eddie Hearn more than my own family at this point. George Nader had nominated Evander Holyfield for saying that he was juicing on the Joe Rogan podcast, but Scott Quigg's thinking brain, aka Smigger's Titties, jumped in and said, sorry, but having listened to the podcast myself, Bellew of the Week must go to this chap, as in George, for his totally baseless accusation against Evander. After he said this, his next words were vegetable juice. I'm not sure where the truth lies there, but they can fight it out between themselves. Jason has nominated Jordan Barry Fitness. If you tuned into the Logan fight, you would have seen Logan was unfairly deducted 2 points, costing him the win. I know Logan Paul is going to challenge this decision, but he needs our help. Sign this petition below and make a difference. And then he set up a gopetition.com to try and get Logan a fair shake. What about that, Rob? I believe you went straight over and signed that. Let's get Logan a fair shake after that disgrace last night. Obviously not. Rob's not interested. Don't blame me, Rob.
Johnny Logan. Johnny Logan, what's another year? Yeah.
Gary Logan.
That's the fucking mentality of these creeps. Like, they're actually fucking. Do you know what I mean? It's a real fucking heartbreaker for him that Logan Paul didn't get the fucking decision. Well, he got 700 grand. Don't be worrying about him, right? Fucking if you're so into online activity, get on that Patreon, bitch. Crying like a little bitch.
Crying like a little bitch.
Crying like a little bitch indeed. Newbie. Billy Joe Saunders has been nominated by this gentleman. I'm not one to make excuses. I came over here 5 days out, 9 hours of difference. I haven't slept right for 5 days. Bit of a chest infection. I can go on and on. Doesn't make excuses, everybody. Hi, Gabby Logan, says Tosh in the chat. Good one, sir. Good one. Chad has nominated John O'Carroll, saying that Eric Donovan was trying to, what was it, get something off the back of his name. Don't try and make a name off the back of mine. John O'Carroll, says Chad Hogan. Tells Jono to get in line. He's also nominated Eddie Hearn. KSI versus Logan Paul was everything that's great about boxing. That's the final one I've got. Excuse me for the old coughing tonight. I was out earlier working in one of the sheds and I think I've got asbestos poisoning or something, so hopefully Andy, you can maybe jump in my place if I drop down dead.
Asbestos poisoning.
I was out with Suck Deep Batty.
Building a nice dungeon.
Jesus Christ, man! You could have just said, "I might be coming down with the flu. I've got asbestos poisoning."
If I die, Andy, I hope you'll jump in for the last 5 minutes.
You just give me the keys to the kingdom, baby. Just give me the keys to that fucking Patreon account, by the way.
I've done anal.
You'll have to make sure that Seraphina's not doing the PR for Billy Joe there.
Chuckwoo's on me here actually. He says, don't forget my nominations. I had actually forgot your nominations, Jason. I'll bring them up now while Andy throws in his. Go ahead, Andy.
I've not really got any, mate. I've kind of sent them all on and that, but the one that claimed, the one about Sullivan Barrera, that was a belter. But I think we've really got to throw in. Well, I think the leader for me's got to be Matt Macklin for what he said, and then he actually deleted it after because he got an absolute shit ton of like negativity because of it. He said I had Crawler losing and said so, but it doesn't really matter in the sense that there was no real significance to the fight. It was a farewell last dance fight for Crawler, right? So just like totally disregard it. Right? The Spaniard, okay, whatever his level is, that he's undefeated. Could potentially go a top 10 WBA ranking for whatever it's worth.
Maybe you've got
I get a leg over. Just this elitism and this is the shit that we didn't fucking like, So and then to go and delete it, that's cheating. That's cheating.
Deleting's cheating, Ozzy. Any from you?
No nominations from me, no.
Nothing from Ozzy. I found Jason Chuckwoo's. There was an article in The Sun, Eddie Hearn, from selling double glazing in Essex to billion-dollar deal maker who is promoting KSI. Bellew of the Week, says Jason to The Sun, for making it seem as if Eddie Hearn went from poverty to paradise and zero to hero, as if he started from nothing when he really went to private school.
Yeah, the
He
son of
started
Barry
off with nothing,
Hearn had a
Rob,
real rags
selling
to
double
riches
glazing
rise.
with Floyd.
Shannon the Cannon want to get a nomination this week, man. He was running reckless at that fucking press conference. He smacked like two fellas, and one I think was just like the two different members of the fucking KSA entourage. One of them has something to do with Badu Jack. I can't remember the guy's name. He's a trainer or something. So he was like, "You don't know me, champ. You don't know me, champ." And the guy's like, "Well, you don't know me either." And your man Shannon just reaches out like a fucking puss, smacks someone. Is like, "I don't know you like that, pussy." And then hit some bystander over the barriers as well. So Shannon the Cannon want to relax, man, champ. Look at him, y'all.
Who was he hitting? Because the guy that he was hitting was definitely no boxer, judging by that punch he tried to throw back at the Cannon.
I don't know who it was. And then he turned around. There was like 50 cameras on him and said, "Nobody touched him."
It was a good left hook. He still got it. Go ahead, Oz.
I'm just trying to find this fight now. Does he drop the guys or not?
No, the guy sort of swivels off and tries to throw a right hand back at him, and then somebody jumps in. From what I saw,
I'm gonna try and watch it now. It's made me laugh. That.
I think there was an RBO title on the line. Smido, you're still with us. That means a lot to me because I know that sometimes you disappear. Have you got any nominations?
I've only got a nomination for my iPhone at the minute on 2%. I'm just going to go for that Barrera lad because there's some effort's gone into that Barrera comment because that's not like a casual comment because casuals don't know who Sullivan Barrera is. So there's some thought gone into that. He's pressed send and he looks a twat. I mean, like that kid on the radio station, right? He should know better, but he's just winging it. He is winging it. This lad who's made the Sullivan Barrera comment actually thinks that he knows what he's talking about and he's still got it completely and very wrong. So he deserves the nomination.
Absolutely agree with Smido there, and he's right about the radio as well. Because and Ozzy made this point as well. That guy on the radio. I mean, if he's talking about boxing, they must think he has some semblance of knowledge. I mean, they wouldn't just put him on there if he knew nothing about boxing. So do a little bit of research, even just a little bit. Have a producer or something throw you a couple of lines. To come out with that is unforgivable. Gabe, maybe you can forgive and forget. We can't. Any nominations, Gabe? If not, go ahead with your pick.
No noms from me. I think I'm gonna pick for the winner. God, I don't know. There's so many fucking choices this week. You know what? I'm gonna nominate myself. Can we do a self-nomination?
Yeah, go back to sleep, you fucking idiot.
Ooh.
Oh.
Come on, Gabe. What have you done?
Crying like a little bitch.
He fucking fell asleep.
I think Andy sounds like he might be crying like a little bitch. Crying like a little bitch.
You fucking quit. You fell asleep. Little bitch.
Go on, Gabe. Tell the listeners what happened to you whenever I was looking for you for the last hour.
Okay, here it is. I fell asleep. That's what happened.
Listening to who?
Yeah, well, now you know how we feel.
Who was you listening to, Gabe?
Shit. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna nominate myself and give myself the win.
Gabe, who was you listening to at the time?
I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna tell the listeners who it was.
Have a guess in the chat who you think Gabe was listening to when he fell asleep. Who on the panel was talking that lulled Gabe off into a little sense of security, sucking his thumb, snoozing in his little deck chair out on the lawn, little machine gun just dropping to the side as he drooled. Sorry, Gabe.
I fell asleep.
Gabe's going for himself. Right, Rob, you might have already told me who you're going for, but I'm going to ask you again because I've forgotten.
I think Shannon. I think boxing as a whole for having this KSI Logan thing and like just really fucking a bad look for the sport, like with Saunders and all his performance and everything. So all of them a collective mention. But Shannon the Cannon, fuck me, man. Like what a guy. Like what is he playing at? Like hitting people in broad daylight. No, I don't know. Yeah. So Shannon the Cannon. Let's go, champ.
Let's go, champ. One for Gabe, one for Shannon. Smido, are you going with me for Thomas Cowan 13, who wanted to get Sullivan Barrera stuck in?
Yes.
2 for Thomas Cowan. What about you, Ozzy?
Yeah, I'm going for that moron who said Sullivan Barrera, but Macklin is a very, very close second for that absurd comment about the Spaniard and it not mattering.
We want to be honest.
What's he basing Tommy Fury's level on? Like him seeing him shadowboxing on Love Island? Like I don't think anyone's ever seen him fight, have they? Like what the fuck?
Oh, I saw him fight. Freaking hell, that was
Is he any good?
what was it? The Frampton Warrington undercard?
Oh,
it
I
was?
did see him fight. Yeah, I did see him fight. Yeah, sorry, I did. My bad.
Robbie
Definitely
Believer, shout out.
Definitely Sullivan Barrera ready.
Sullivan Barrera, shout out Jimmy Kelly. Andy, who are you going for? I think we've got 3 for Thomas Cowan, so it might be academic, but throw one into
Macklin.
Matthew Macklin, yeah. A few of the guys, Tosh in the chat said he would go for Macklin as well. Lee the Alcoholic Frotch said that too, but it's Thomas Cowan 13. Hardcore or casual, who knows? You are the value of the week for episode 348. Congratulations. And that's where we shall end it. Ted, I have to get out tonight, so I'll ask your question next week. I want to do it some justice and give it to the boys and give it back to you. Yeah, just refreshing my page on Twitter. Nobody is saying anything to me, so we'll finish up for 348. Thanks to Rapping Rob Kelly for jumping on as always. Gabe Lewis, while he was awake, was excellent. Ozzy Smith has unlocked himself. Anything to say, Oz?
I hadn't unlocked it. It just stayed unlocked.
No problem,
You
sir.
mean on
You're
mute?
jumping in there.
Oh, no.
No,
Getting his
just
schlong
going
out.
through the final particulars. Andy Patterson as well, getting his schlong out on a Sunday evening. Thanks to Adam Smido Smith. We'll catch you all again for episode 349. I've been Steve Welling. Same place, same time next week. Bye.